Sports Gurus channel. I'm your host, Sports Guru. This is a game in progress. I'm sorry, my connection had dropped before I can even finish this video. So this is part 2 of the same video. So let's get it started.
Where it's like, can't score anymore because all the pretty offense can't get you a bucket when you really need it, and that's why I keep saying they need somebody in there who just a walking bucket.
I thought that was Terry Rozier. I thought that's what that was.
Well, that's the part that's interesting is the starting lineup has been pretty horrendous together.
Well, that's what's happening in the third quarter.
Yeah, and that's why last night, actually, they took the lead in the third quarter. That was the difference between last night's game and the other two games when you look at those leads, is the leads in the previous two were big leads that they had at the half and then proceeded to blow early in the third quarter and get blown out in the third. Last night, they made the adjustment, actually, of taking Niko Jovic out of that lineup, starting Haywood Highsmith, and they played great to start the second half. They played really good defense. It led to offense, all the things that they talk about. To me, the interesting question for Spo moving forward is what do you do not only to sort of solve some of the offensive woes of that group, but also, what do you do to inject some offense off the bench? Because primarily right now, the main lineup where it's, hey, one starter with a whole bunch of guys off the bench has been Jimmy Butler plus a whole bunch of guys off the bench. I wonder if the difference may be, does Terry Rozier potentially come out of that starting lineup and become the guy of, hey, go be a looter and a riot against the other team's bench. Go get yours then, because right now, as the fourth option, they're essentially, we talk about there's only one ball to go around with some of these superstar teams that have three superstars offensively. This right now is a team where the starting lineup, it's only one ball to go around with 4 above average offensive players, and they're just trying to figure out the best shot every possession.
They should be more than one ball. But to Amin's point here, when you're talking about sort of an overwhelming offensive presence, the Heat don't have one, right? So far, it feels like Tyler Hero has to be the guy if he's good through the first 3 quarters. And nobody's going to feel good about that. Nobody's going to feel great about that in a close game. The idea with this team is, hey, we've got so much variety on offense. It could be anybody at any given time. We could get hot for a game, and boom, we're up by 20 in the fourth quarter. We don't have to worry about that. But when it comes to that, Jimmy Butler does not look overwhelming offensively. Bam Adebayo does not. Tyler Hero does not. And
makes a catch.
Does not yet.
What's interesting about what you say there, Izzy, is Tyler has been as good to start this season as any season in his career. He's been efficient. He's shooting 45% from 3. He's been making all of the right reads.
Cringe.
What has been interesting is here at the end of these last couple of games, in those final possessions where you need a bucket or
why am I only got one timeout? What the hell?
You need someone to initiate your offense. The ball has not
been
it's been in Jimmy Butler's hands.
We know what the ceiling is.
Scoreboard is glitching again.
Okay, Bam has not been good this season. So
this shit's crazy. Scoreboard is glitching when I didn't even use 2 timeouts in the third quarter.
Where he looks like anything that he's been his career averages, he's giving you one game. Tyler Hero's not going to
even use a timeout in the third quarter, and it just says, "Oh, you only got 1 timeout left." Like, what the fuck? Madden, please fix your shit.
Here and say all they want, figuring it out.
They've
lost to all the playoff teams they've played, and they haven't beaten anybody good since early last year. Like they don't have a victory where you're like, oh, I see what this team could be. It's all precipitous decline. It's all precipitous decline for a season and a half since Duncan Robinson got hurt. Like, the offense looked good for a brief stretch, and then it's been difficult offense since then. What are people still telling me about their 4 elite offensive players? This team has been offensively constipated for more than a full regular season of sample size.
We're going on. This is going to be the 3rd season of it, I believe, right? So the season they lost in Game 7 to the Celtics when Jimmy Butler missed the 3 at the end. That was the last time this offense was like an elite offense.
Strus and Vincent and whatever that team was shooting from 3, was that the team that was the best offensive efficiency team that they had when they had Strus and Vincent shooting the 3?
That was Lowry and Tucker, really. It was those guys coming off the bench in spurts, but that was the one really good Kyle Lowry season here in Miami, and PJ Tucker being at sort of the height of his powers, being opened up as a corner 3-point shooter who was shooting about 50% from that corner.
Folks, the NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards? Who's grabbing rebounds? Get behind
Oh
the
wow,
player
nice job,
props and the
Alante.
prop bets you can make on
He almost
DraftKings,
picked
the
that
home
off.
of NBA player props. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN. That's code DAN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. My mouth is salivating at that deal. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball.
Don Le Batard.
Teammates can't shoot from three. Now they're gonna see a different Jimmy. Now he's just playing. Nickel back in the locker room and
Stugats.
they'll play D and shoot threes as they chase the Nets for the 6th seed. These 5 words in his head scream, "Are we winning games yet?"
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats.
We need some fiber on this team. Is there any fiber available in the trade market?
Because we're constipated.
Yeah, we're constipated. We need some
Wipe your
fiber
ass on
on
a
this
fancy
Prunes.
towel
We
after.
need some prunes, some apple juice.
Apple juice.
I used to, man, apple juice walks right through me.
It walks right through you.
It's like if I'm ever, in need, it's one of my go-tos.
I don't think of apple juice as being in the category of prunes. Isn't prunes the isn't prunes the ultimate, even more than fiber, the ultimate diuretic?
Dan, there's something about prunes. I don't know what it is. Obviously, I'm in the pregnant wife situation right now, and things are moving a little bit slower than usual. And then I told her, hey, why don't we use prune juice? She's like, no, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work. We use prune juice. Dude, next day, bang.
Diuretics make you pee, and careful, Chris, because this is a slippery slope leading to a photo of poop.
Coffee.
Not a big coffee drinker. I know that is a lot of people's go-to.
I don't know. I don't drink coffee. So.
All right, so what are the main diuretics? Because you guys went fiber very early there. I think of other things. I think of prune juice, and I thought coffee. Oh, wait a minute. Now you're going medicines. Yes.
That kind of thing.
I mean, a medicine.
Metamucil.
Yes, thank you. Yes, any number of things.
As you can see, I've researched a lot.
Lubricate the tubes.
We got another one for you. Midnight milkshakes.
That's a terrible idea. Like, that's just, you sleep
but it works.
poorly. It doesn't work. You just...
Look, I missed the day of work because, or was I late?
I believe coconut is a natural laxative, is it not?
Coconut?
I think it's like cream de coconut, right? Like pina coladas.
enjoyed what the most, because it brought me a blessed serenity to see somebody beat the Celtics. It seems like it's been a while.
Dan, it's not that they just beat them. It's they kind of humbled them. It looked like, yesterday on Oddball to preview the game, we did this little exercise where we're whispering advice into people's ears, right? And so I whispered to Steph Curry's image. I said, this is what you got to do. You got to go out there and you have to remind these people, I own you.
Wait, why was
all my children? And lo and behold, he did it, and he didn't do it in the usual Steph Curry way of, an amazing shooting display. He did it moving the ball. He was so good passing. They were operating. I was very optimistic on what Golden State was going to be going into this year because I thought, look.
Well, you never stopped believing in them last year.
No.
You always expected championship pedigree to do something in the playoffs and become what they've become through 8 games this season.
There's a difference between I'm not counting them out, which is kind of like, look, man, I've seen these guys do crazy things, and what they were going into this year, what they did in this offseason, I was incredibly optimistic. I said, look, man, yes, Golden State has been a dynasty on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant and Draymond Green and those guys. But there's another part of this where it's like their role players, their supporting cast was always top notch. It's always these high IQ guys that were really good players in another life, but they came here to be high IQ role players. Iguodala, Sean Livingston, Leandro Barbosa, Andrew Bogut, David West. Like all of these dudes are just super tough, super smart, knew how to play. And I thought that was so
Goodbye.
underrated about what they did.
What the
Is that people
fuck?
thought, oh, it's just Durant and Curry, and just give them any 3 guys, whatever. Like, no. It's not just any 3 guys. When they won the championship, they had a little bit of
Metcalf
that
wide
with
open.
Bielitsa, with Peyton, with Otto Porter, guys that knew
What?
how to play, right? And then they said, no, we're going to go with the young guys. That's what happened the last couple of years. This year, they went back and they got some guys who know how to play. Buddy Hield, Anthony Melton, Kyle Anderson, who last night, all of a sudden, now he's a 3-point shooter. What the hell? He had 3 threes in a row at one point. So when you bring that kind of supporting cast to the table, now you see, oh, Steph doesn't have to be Superman. He can just get in where he fit in.
I mean, Steve Kerr played 11 guys in the first quarter, I believe, and that's without being fully healthy. Brandon Pajemski wasn't there. Was that a troll job because Jason Tatum was the 11th man on the USA team and he could have played
Is that a troll? Is that a troll? Is that an overt troll, or is that just an Izzy theory? I want a new segment. Izzy's conspiracy
We end up with a
theories. So if you
63
know
on
this
their
to be
ass.
so, are you volunteering this? You've blown Amin's mind. Amin was watching. You know how rare it is for the arrogance of Amin to be like, I was watching that game and I didn't notice something that other people noticed.
Never did that math.
Is obviously Boston not at full strength, no Jaylen Brown, no Porzingis. Do you see this as kind of like Golden State almost like evolving into a different offense?
It's not different because it's the same offense. It's just there are new options available because the offense itself is there's, when they run action, there's like 5 different things that could happen out of any of it. And that's what makes it hard to guard. It's when the example I always give is like the Draymond split cut where Klay screens for Steph. And how do you guard that? Because normally, like, okay, stick with the shooter. Wait a second. They're both shooters. So by the time you figured out, okay, this is what I do. You top block on this side. You come on the underside. Big man, you come up and show and help in any which way. What ends up happening is Draymond Green realizes I have the ball and nobody's guarding me. He just turns around and lays it up. And that's the to me, in a nutshell, that's the Warriors offense. It's like you're going to be so confused, spinning your head, trying to stop every single opportunity that the most obvious thing, guard the ball, is going to elude you. When you look at all these players and their ability to score and move without the ball and screen and do all those things, that's kind of what the essence comes down to, is that, oh, Steph doesn't have to be the focal point in terms of taking this shot. There's going to be so much attention that everyone else is going to be as open as they've ever been in their life.
In terms of projects we got going on around here, Amin Elhassan and Charlotte Wilder are doing a wonderful job covering all of your basketball needs, no matter how eccentric they might be. Oddball every day of the week except one. You can guess which one it's not. Jessica has been doing great stuff with Lucy on Gen CFB. You will hear some of that later in the show. And Billy and Stugatz have taken off for Arizona. They are in Arizona. They have landed. They are ready to get God Bless Football percolating and echoing. Amin is as far away from them geographically as you can be while having a home in Arizona.
Crisscross.
So if you want to spend time with Stugatz and Billy, let's give people the information here on what it is that they could do Sunday. Kickoff is at 2:25 local time. That's confusing to me. I don't know what to do with that. I see a local time 2:25. I'm like, no football game has ever started. You got me used to London. I mean, but 2:25 is not a starting time for a football game that I know of, but evidently it is.
It's 1 to 6 what they're doing. That's the most important thing.
I know, but it says kickoff 2:25.
It's an odd detail.
This is what I always say.
Oh,
I
that
don't
hurt.
tell people what time kickoff is. They're
Eat some
football
chips
fans.
in
They
a little
know.
bit.
Understood, but I've never seen 2:25 as a time. I've seen 4:25, and I understand what's happening there. 4:25, 4:27 is a time, but it's a
2:25 isn't a time for anything. You go into a restaurant at 2:25 and it's empty. I don't know what 2:25 is.
And let's remind people, Sunday service is presented by Smirnoff. You can join them, like Dan said, at the DraftKings Sportsbook and TPC Scottsdale. Jets Cardinals kickoff once again at 2:25. Streaming live on DLS YouTube. You must be 21 or older to go.
Man, you really petered out there. Izzy,
I'll
put it
play
on the
that back
poll
later. I
at
think that was
Lebatard
fine.
Show.
Jeez, that
I get a
time
bad
doesn't-
rap
We were
around
all
here.
just
Well,
staring
Izzy.
at you, and you were leaking
Grab it.
confidence.
That's not
It was
leaking
like-
confidence. That's like I'm delivering that like at 21 or older. Like that's not petering out. That's like
really? That was you.
That's
You
craftsmanship.
think you were nailing the
That's what I'm
dismount there.
saying.
You
I
think
really-
you were Simone Biles
Streaming
there.
live on DLS YouTube, and you must be 21 or
Okay.
older.
You thought
that
you-
is
I
not
think we should
petering
play
out.
it back in the next segment, and
We
we
will.
should all vote on it.
All right, we will listen to it. Put it on the poll, though, Juju, at Lebatard Show. Is 2:25 p.m. time for anything? Because I think we
Time
really,
for bed.
I think we found a hole in the universe. Nobody does anything at 2:25 on any day. There's no appointed thing at 2:25 in the history of time, except for NFL football in Arizona. That's all we've got. Speaking of football, Jess, I've been remiss here. I have gotten to Thursday without talking seriously about college football this week. There were a few distractions.
We're not to where we want to be standards-wise. We got to keep up with standard.
Involving the
Super Bowl
rankings. I don't know how
or
you
bust.
feel about anything. What kind of expertise can you give us on who's outraged and who's not? Because I missed it with everything else that was happening Tuesday night.
I think generally the consensus is that it's only the first ranking, so don't get too outraged yet. Lucy and I will break down some of the Indiana, Penn State,
Really?
BYU reactions on Gen CFB, which
Can't
will be
put
a little bit later
Penix?
in the show.
That shit is
But I think
stupid.
that was sort of it. It was like the undefeated teams that, Indiana and BYU, namely, not being ranked a little bit higher, they were unhappy. But both of those teams, I think, will get a chance to move up the rankings as teams ahead of them have to lose because they'll be playing other ranked teams, or as the season goes on and Indiana has to play Ohio State next week. So
The
I think it
assessment
might work itself
on
out.
these teams with the schedule that they've played help me, because this is just it's a cursory analysis by me that Pittsburgh was a fraudier unbeaten than Indiana is as an unbeaten, that Indiana is something closer to Miami as an unbeaten, where there are questions and there are doubts, but people are ready to understand that this BYU, even more so because there aren't questions
This is
about their
BYU.
schedule the way that there is about Indiana and Miami.
Well, yeah. So BYU has ranked wins over SMU and Kansas State versus Indiana, who doesn't have one of those wins yet, but they've been winning all their games by mostly double digits. So I think that it's an interesting question of if the committee values the close wins over ranked teams more so than blowing out a lot of teams on your schedule. I think Pitt did have a harder strength of schedule than Indiana, but Pitt also lost last weekend to SMU, so it's almost and they still have to play Clemson, which Clemson lost to Louisville, so I don't know.
But I'm talking about fraudy unbeatens. I'm talking about national perception on fraudy unbeatens, because Miami's got the top 5 ranking, but if I'm Indiana or BYU, I can make the argument that my schedule is at least
Okay, we're 8 and 2 going to our bye week.
In BYU, but I think Louisville beating Clemson though is an
Ravens lead
important
the division,
role.
going to their bye week.
Beating
Colts lead the
Clemson
division,
is
going
an
to their bye
important key
week.
to that because Miami beat Louisville earlier this season.
Dolphins
But also
Ravens in the division, going to their bye week.
ACC
Lions leading their division. We will be playing them next, and then we play the Falcons. They won 7 straight. We won 6 straight. Cowboys leading their division.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
again, it's
Niners are the hottest
I
here,
understand why the committee
undefeated.
puts out rankings this early in the season, because I think it's good to see the sort of pattern making and the thought process behind it, so that when the day the season ends, we don't just say wait, why is Tennessee in the top 5? This
But
makes
imagine
281 yards and 4 touchdowns.
When it was the semifinals, it's just let's announce on the last day. Now imagine nobody has any
300
idea,
yards.
and there are 12 teams, and they wait till the last day.
They've been doing this for as long as there's been a 14 playoff. the ranking show.
Yeah, no, and I've always said, what if we just got rid of all of them until the last week, and then, wow, everybody
Yeah.
finds out all at once, and there is no tease.
I mean, the whole thing exists for television ratings, right? Like sports in general. Like we all.
What do you mean?
It's a great television product, so they're able to make a show every Tuesday where they're like, watch the show about the show that we're gonna have later this year, about the show that is the football game. So like, yeah, but I also think that it is sort of like helpful for fans to know what the thought process is going back to the first week of November, even though none of this might matter in 4 weeks. Like, in fact, most of it probably won't matter because Alabama and LSU, they play each other this weekend. Indiana plays Michigan this weekend. Like, there's going to be changes immediately.
Stugatz here for my friends over at Simply Safe. The holiday season is right around the corner. That means you're away more, and burglars know it. That means you need to protect your home. Right now, Simply Safe is giving exclusive early access to its Black Friday sale to Levitard Show listeners. Simply Safe is the home security I trust to keep my home and family safe. Simply Safe is a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. Old school systems only take action once someone is already inside your home. That's too late. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. If someone's lurking around or
But it's the Raiders.
suspiciously, those agents see them in real time, talk to them directly, set off your spotlights, and even call the police before they've had a chance to break in. Simply Safe is offering my listeners exclusive early access to their Black Friday sale. This week only, you can take 60% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/DLB to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this holiday season. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Don Lebatard.
I got a Slater scoop.
Stugatz.
He f***ed us.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugatz.
The thing that I would like to know as an assessment, though, is someone who has only seen little bits of Indiana games when they are unbeaten, and I keep seeing 50 points next to their name. I'm not used to. Michael Penix introduced me to the idea of Indiana can be good at football, can be good at offense. I had no experience with that in my lifetime. Indiana's game logs, when you look at them, what are their close games? Because there's one thing that Miami is doing while barely beating Virginia Tech, while barely beating California. I don't think there's a barely beating in Indiana's schedule, but I haven't checked the game logs. It's just every time I look up, they've got 50 and someone's not close to that.
Yeah, I think their closest game was against Washington when their quarterback was out with an injury. So yeah, like they've been kicking ass. I think this is also though like a product of the preseason rankings having a strong influence on how people view teams, especially even late in the season where you would expect like preseason rankings by, you know,
I'm gonna make
but no, I think
I'm gonna make
Indiana
Kamara a
comes into the season
superstar
ranked
myself.
Top 15. They're undefeated and they're going to be a lot higher than they are now.
That's silly, though,
but again,
isn't it?
It is very silly.
I mean,
I think that it's also really hard to like preseason rankings are hard to do, especially with a team like Indiana that has a first-year head coach that brought 14 transfers from his last school with him and a transfer quarterback from a MAC team who was like good, especially a couple years ago, but like we're not sure if he's going to be awesome at Indiana. And so, like, how do you evaluate that in the off season? It's really, really hard to do that. And also, obviously, like as we've always talked about, there is a sort of like name brand recognition that goes into ranking college football because you know which schools and which programs spend the most money on their teams, and so you sort of give like deference to them, whether or not you should. That happens with the rankings.
All the more reason to wait
Yes.
for rankings until the last week of the season. But wouldn't that, if you're Indiana or if you're trying to figure out who the fake fraud or who the frauds are, Dan, wouldn't it be more leaning toward Indiana? Because it seems system is what they're relying on, not player, versus Miami, who seems to be relying more on player.
I want to go all in on Indiana just because they feel a little bit to me like Central Florida a few years ago, where everyone's like, how can they possibly be any good? But they keep showing you every week that they're good, and they might then stumble into being better than everybody because they've beaten everyone they played this year by at least 2 touchdowns.
You knew Indiana was going to be good when Kurt Signetti was like,
He's like, what do you do to you? The fuck?
the roof. At that point, I was like, hey, there's something there. Bloomington, right? Indiana?
Yeah, Bloomington.
There's something there?
It's a very nice college town, very pretty. Priya went there.
Sure.
I almost went there.
I think the frustration though, Dan, is that like can Indiana afford to lose to Ohio State? Like, will find out. Like, Penn State probably can.
Exactly, it doesn't change a damn thing for
schedule comparison. Penn State has played a lot closer games with competition that they should be blowing out, which Indiana has done. So I think that's sort of what Indiana fans are more frustrated in.
Isn't it weird? You know, you mentioned UCF, but usually when we have this kind of school that's an outsider to the party, that's doing well, they usually play in a crappy conference, and that's why, right? But Indiana plays in the Big Ten. So they're playing not the same schedule, but a similar schedule to all the other blue bloods in the Big Ten.
People are waiting for them to play the best teams in the conference, though. They're not playing the best teams in the conference. And it's not a strong top-to-bottom conference. It's a top-heavy conference.
I mean, like yes and no. Like, it is interesting that so they'll play Ohio State in 2 weeks. They play Michigan this weekend. Michigan's a team that like has really good players, but has been a weak team this year. They have a quarterback situation that they've been struggling with all season. They don't really have a real like starting downfield passer that they trust. So they've been doing weird things with the quarterback position. They've got a lot of players on their defense out. Their defense is still really good. So even though Indiana is like a 14.5-point favorite, I think the margin of victory, if they do beat Michigan, will matter. But if you say, like, yeah, they haven't played anyone yet, well, Penn State didn't really play anyone until last weekend either. Like, they beat Illinois earlier in the season, 21-7, which looked good at the time, but now Illinois has gone on a downward skid towards the end of the season. Whereas, like, also, if you compare head-to-head, Ohio State played against Nebraska last weekend. It was a very close game. Indiana blew them out, like 56-7, I think the final score was. So there is like some comparisons.
I'd love Indiana to surprise everybody.
The transitive property doesn't work in college football because there's like schemes matter and
sure. If Indiana undresses Michigan, no matter how bad they are this year, people will start paying more attention to whatever this is. That we maybe got it wrong all season since before the season on Indiana because we're just not used to Indiana being.
Isn't that 14.5-point spread pretty telling also?
I
definitely
think the idea that people don't believe in Indiana is going to be something that permeates the nation in football until Indiana actually holds up several trophies. I don't think people will believe that Indiana is a national elite at football until several championships after they've won the championship.
That's why when you bring up UCF, to me, when I watch this season, Miami is closer to that 2017 UCF team than Indiana is. We're talking about basically 2017 UCF with a good PR agent because they are absolutely.
Is that Mike?
No, I'm not going to say it.
Well, I think Miami, like Miami, at this point in the season, like the 3-loss Louisville team is now ranked. Maybe they will lose a couple games and be unranked when the season ends, but
let my boy Cook here.
Sure, I get what you're saying.
They have a couple of good wins against okay teams in a conference that is clearly not the SEC or the Big Ten. As we look at the state of college football, you see a team going undefeated in a mediocre conference with a great quarterback, an incredible offense, a defense that gives up so many points that you're in every single game in fourth quarter. But you're undefeated. A win's a win. And to me, I will cape up for this Miami team to be in the top 4 of those rankings because they deserve it. Because, guys, winning every single game, no matter how bad your conference is very difficult.
You can disparage it all you want. I don't even care to argue about whether or not the University of Miami is actually excellent. You cannot argue with me that they're uninteresting. Like, you will not be able to argue that it's an uninteresting team. It's a fun team, and I figure that Amin's in town only because the highlight of his football existence, I believe, was as a Georgia Tech alum last year, showing up and ruining Miami's season because they couldn't beat your beloved Yellow Jackets.
The highlight of my football existence post-college, right? Like, when I was in college,
Calvin Johnson was there when you were in college?
No, I was Joe Hamilton and
and
Des White. Yeah, that's my era back then. But we were top 5 in the nation. We lost a close game with Florida State at Tallahassee, where Peter Warwick was just incredible. Like, it was a time. That was definitely the heyday. But this weekend, I was supposed to go to it's homecoming at Georgia Tech. I was gonna
Miami
go.
can lose that one, man. Can lose that.
Can
one.
lose it. I'm guaranteeing it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Sirianni.
Yes.
It's not gonna happen, guys.
Got the shorts on too.
Jessica's on record as saying Miami's going undefeated. That schedule is too easy.
No. Well, guess what? It gets a little harder on Saturday.
Not that much harder because Georgia Tech's 5-4 and not that good.
Doesn't matter. We weren't that good last year either.
That's your best argument.
Yeah, but Cam Ward didn't play with them last
Hey,
year.
then he's in for a rude awakening.
Okay, regardless.
Wow.
Yes.
Rude awakening.
Ooh.
A rude awakening has been officially declared. There it is, the face of rude awakening. If he has a milkshake at midnight, be careful in the morning. Rude awakening.
Has the show figured out where heyday has come from? What is that? What is the heyday?
Is there a day when horses get hay? Is it hay? Is it horse related? Horse feeding time?
It's not spelled H-A-Y.
What is a heyday then?
I don't know, but it's not.
The critic doesn't have the solution. He only has the mockery. The critic doesn't have the answer. He just knows my answer is wrong. I'm throwing a guess into the wind.
You know what? I'm going to go with, I should yes and this. Yes, that's exactly it. The horses created the term. It's like, hey guys, you know what today is? What? It's heyday! Oh! The horses again. And like,
They're like dancing. I'm picturing a horse like doing the, like in the Olympics.
On
the
two
way they're
legs.
Mike, guess what day it is?
It's heyday.
All right,
Let's
you guys,
go. We're getting to this.
You guys want to hear, before we get to the heyday, you want to hear whether or not Chris Cody was indeed petering out while he was trying to read?
You Peter in, because that's what I did here.
All right.
I'm like Ryan Seacrest in this
All
clip.
right, you think
Shit.
this is you perfect broadcasting?
Kickoff once again at 2:25. Streaming live on DLS YouTube. You must be 21 or older to go. That is dude. That is like a floor routine that is just
Bit of a shake. I heard a little shake at the end.
21 or older. Like it's just that is just perfect.
Howdy, folks. It's Mike. It's football season. It's November. The leaves are turning colors and the pads are popping. From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineup, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked way back in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So, what's the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both the great taste and the fact that it is less filling. Because Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips everything away that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. Holds on to it the way that you'd hold on to a football high and tight, or the way that you hold on to that beautiful white can on the outside. With the temperature dipping, you don't even need a koozie anymore. How sweet is that?
Shut up.
Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Beer's overrated. I don't care.
You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together with good drinks and good people. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka and is an official vodka partner of the NFL. And this year, Smirnoff is giving fans in select areas of the country a chance to win the ultimate game day experience. From tickets to sideline passes and much more, just head to WeDoGameDays.com until November 15, 2024 to enter for your chance to win. That's WeDoGameDays.com. Smirnoff, we do game days.
Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. Ends November 15, 2024. See rules at website for participating area and other important details. Sponsored by Diageo Americas Inc., New York, New York.
This is the Dan Levatar Show with the Stugatz podcast.
They're not making the playoffs.
This segment is presented by LinkedIn Jobs. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. Terms and conditions apply. Ryan Seacrest.
David Sampson has an opinion. David Sampson. Ryan Seacrest probably wouldn't talk at the exact moment that his partner was going to
You got to
talk.
lay out there.
Yeah,
You got to know that joke.
I've got to lay out there. Okay, very good. David Sampson of Nothing Personal fame is with us now, and I have an assortment of questions to ask him inside and outside of sports. But let's get him in on our towel discussion here for a second. You guys would assume, if you had to take betting odds on this,
Obnoxious towels,
that for sure he's got monogram towels, correct? We're agreeing that they're oh, look,
absolutely.
He's shaking his head no. He will
absolutely not.
All right, so
expensive towels.
Tell us about your towel situation, please.
I heard what all you said, and I am just blown away. I've got towels that have strict assignments, and they are in certain rooms for certain purposes. So in the bathroom, there are 3 hooks on the door. You have the bath towel. That is used for when you get out of the shower for your body. Then you've got a towel that is used for your ass. Then you've got a towel that's used for your face. And so you know which towel to use for which part of your body. So therefore, you would never have that happen. Secondly, if a guest uses a towel, and I keep towels in the guest room that are not for show, they're for use, but after every use, they are washed because I wouldn't want a guest to repeat a towel. Thirdly, I put napkins in the bathrooms because then people can use the napkins to dry themselves with a garbage can right next to the door if they feel as though the towel may be dirty.
The napkins sometimes break up when you're washing your hands. You use a napkin to dry them. They break up, and then they have a little residue, and it's like, ugh, disgusting.
That's a fantastic point, which is why you have to use 4-ply napkins. Great point. You can't use like the Dixie Cup napkins.
You also don't consider the climate at all in any of your consumption, correct?
That's not true at all. That's not true at all. I only do full loads of laundry.
I'm just gonna have to deal with not having my YouTube TV for a couple of weeks.
Thank you for that.
The Joker's laugh back there as the world actually burns. one David Sampson towel at a time.
David, I could go into your bathroom at any given time, and there's an ass towel just hanging center between two other towels?
It's in an order. You wouldn't know because I just told you. Now you know the order of the hooks, but I do that wherever I am because I don't understand the concept that people do where they use a bath towel and they use it for their front and their back. Do they remember which side they've
That's
used
embarrassing.
using the same
Well,
towel?
first of all, everything's
David, you're
clean. But the idea of using 3 separate towels after you take a shower is serial killer behavior.
I'm literally trying to figure out your system. Your system is you have one towel that you use for your entire body, including the taint, the ass, every part of your body, one towel.
Yours is way more complicated. I guarantee you've used the ass towel on your face before an accident.
No
You've done
way.
it.
Oh, I
You've done it.
guarantee you I haven't.
No way. No chance. He's a germaphobe. He knows exactly. Let me explain something to you. This I know about David Sampson if I know no other truth. Wherever he is on Earth, he knows where that ass towel is. And that towel.
The only thing.
I may know nothing else about him, but wherever he is anywhere in the Earth, where that ass towel has been used, it's not getting near his face. No chance. That's why it exists.
The only thing you know.
I'm gonna break into your house and just rearrange your towels.
It's also especially dangerous because do you or do you not have a sense of smell? I can't remember.
He doesn't.
So I don't, but that's not relevant. I didn't start this just post-COVID in 21. This has been a thing. Now, I was made fun of in college because when you're in a dorm situation where you share a bathroom and you share a room with someone, it's a totally weird thing that you have to do with your hooks and your towels because people tend to come into your dorm room and think, oh, that's an available towel to use. And that was the beginning of people understanding certain things of mine I do not want touched.
When it comes to you being an organizational person, what would you regard as your strangest obsessive compulsive or anal quality compared to others?
Well, I can only compare it to the people who I'm around. I am very, very organized when it comes to the dishes and when it comes to my clothing, and that I don't want to wear. I happen to live with someone who wears the same pair of 3 underwear because you wash them, put them back on top, and then you just wear the same ones. I don't get that. When I do wash, I put them on the bottom of the pile. When I do dishes, I put the dishes on the bottom. It takes an extra second because you have to lift like the 8 dishes you didn't use out of the
That's
cabinet,
probably.
put the 2 dishes you did use on the bottom, and then put the 8 on top back. And that way you get equal and even use of all of your
Wow,
stuff.
not
You do
as
that with
one in it.
silverware,
Okay.
dishes, socks,
Insulated
underwear,
division,
shirts.
closely in the
As a matter
division,
of fact,
dogs
I
in the
rotate
division,
silverware.
pieces in the
I
division,
rotate, yes, otherwise you're
mines
using
in
the
the
same 2
division,
forks.
faculty in the
I don't
division.
even
If we win, we
understand
take over the
the
division.
concept of people not doing that.
Faculty in the
Blew
division.
my mind with that. I just realized I have plates that I've never used before. Like those 5th and 6th ones down, I've never used those.
Do you have plates that you've never used before? I'm going to say half of my plates I've never used before. I'm going to say half of them.
That means that you're not wearing your things out at an even pace. So how do you know when they have to be replaced?
I mean, it's just a plate. It works every time.
Do plates get worn out?
That's what I've never looked at my plate like, oh man, this one I need to change this one out.
Silverware get worn out?
No.
But you're using the same fork. Anyway, it's fine. You can criticize it all you want. I'm not going to change what I do. It works for me, and it's very easy to do. It's not like a sickness I have. It's not hard to put 2 forks underneath 10 forks when you're in your silverware drawer.
I'm not criticizing. I'm asking the question. does my fork get worn out?
I believe that forks get worn out because the constant in the mouth. Some people put their teeth on the fork, which is obviously disgusting when they eat.
Yeah,
that drives me insane. I hate
scraping
that.
noise.
The fork, I've got to say, I think most people listening to this would say the fork's lifespan is plus 20 years.
Never thought about it.
I'm thinking most people listening to this are saying that the fork is not slowly rotting one mouth bacteria at a time. It's going to endure for decades.
Well, you can especially do that if you're using one fork time and time again. I think you're lowering the useful life if you're using the same thing. How about looking at your skivvies? Don't you have to replace them more if you wear the same 2 pair every other day?
Skivvy's a great term used by 80-year-olds all over our land. At Levitard Show, over under on age of person who uses skivvies, 80 years old, over under. Also put on the poll at Levitard Show, expiration day of the average fork, 20 years, plus or minus.
I'm taking the over like by another 20 years. Like when I bought silverware when I moved to Florida, 'cause it was the first time I ever
Exactly.
bought silverware. I was like, I'm gonna have this silverware
Exactly.
5 years old. That was my thought process. I better pick something sleek because I'm gonna have this for the rest of my life, baby.
How often do you turn over your silverware,
No.
David?
Switch out the sets of silverware?
No, like new silverware. You're like, when are you due for new silverware?
I have a useful life of stuff that just rotates in different parts of my life. So there's premium silverware, which is to be used for dinner, secondary silverware for lunch, and then for guests there's a third set, and it's priced that way. In that for guests you have like plastic or the sort of Costco type silverware, and that stuff is the 10 years. My silverware is probably every 5 years. It's not all that expensive.
You got guest silverware?
Well, yes. I don't want guests using what I use.
Look,
that's gross.
Let me explain something to you. He is in a place where he's making sure that guests are using different things than him, and he is fully aware at that time of where his ass towel is. Like wherever it is, he is in the world. In the world, he knows that. Look, he's building a stadium over here for the Marlins, and he knows where the ass towel is. Like these are the things that his head is occupied by.
David, how much would I have to pay you to take a bite of a sandwich that I've already bitten?
For you to take a bite of my sandwich
No.
that I've already had?
I've taken a bite of my sandwich, and then I'm holding it over to you, and you have to take a bite from the same spot I took a bite from.
I just wouldn't.
There's gotta be a number.
There is a number. Yeah, obviously there's a number, but it's a big number. It would require your dad's help, is my guess. But I am not that interested in that game.
Let's do this. Wait, but what could be the single most disgusting thing in your mind in terms of something that you'd have to share as a germaphobe with someone here? Which is the one in your imagination that is most troubling to you that we'd have to pay the most for to get you to do?
Easy. Putting on someone's stained underwear.
Ew. Wow, aggressive. Yes, no one.
I was going to say sharing a burrito.
yes, okay. Yes, that was an easy one. I'm sorry I made it so easy. Can you get a little more human and do something that the rest of us would also maybe do that you're disgusted by?
I don't share straws.
Okay, I don't.
What if you're romantically involved with the person with whom you're sharing the straw?
It wasn't the reason I'm divorced, but it definitely came up. Is you're willing to have sex with me, but you will not share a straw, and I found that to be a reasonable boundary.
What?
That's a great argument, by the way. How did you counter that?
I said it's disgusting to share a straw.
The judge banged their gavel after that one.
Yeah, it was a good one. That's why there's a divorce. I had no answer. I had to run.
David, your thoughts here on Joel Embiid's suspension, 3 games and $1 million, not insignificant, $1 million for putting his hands on a reporter.
Well, I think it should have been more.
Same.
I just was surprised what Joe Dumars did, and you've got the basketball experts right there in your studio. Let me tell you my reaction.
What
as
the
a front
hell?
office, I went to see Joel Embiid after speaking to the league, and I said, all right, your knee's good to go right now. He got healthy really fast, and he's serving the suspension Wednesday night, Friday, and Sunday, so he's ready to go for the Emirates in-season tournament. And I don't like how that worked, because the way Joe Dumars stated it was that when Embiid is able to play, the suspension will start. I'm not sure when Embiid was going to come back. He hadn't played all year, and all of a sudden he gets suspended. Hey, I'm good now. I would have played today, so this counts as game 1. So I am not in favor. I would have had him do it later in the season, Or I said it on Nothing Personal, and you said it on your show. I love the idea of making him play games instead of sitting games as his punishment.
Do you have any thoughts? Because I heard this on Nothing Personal, and I haven't heard it elsewhere. Have you guys heard a lot of people saying the NFL is in bad shape? That the NFL is in bad shape. Have you guys heard that many places? Never mind that there are, a lot of 2-win teams and some of the teams are shitty, but you have, what do you mean? You have said on Nothing Personal the NFL is in bad shape.
I want to clear. I mean, it was a full segment. I love that you heard the snippet. I really do. But here's what I said. For the first time this century, they have 9 teams after week 9 with 2 wins or fewer. That's never happened this entire century. And what Roger Goodell has been craving is this parity.
What the hell?
He wants to live in this world of mediocrity. And what's happened is it's actually gone the other way. And you've got a huge band now, a large standard deviation between teams that are good and teams that are bad, and it's gone against what he's been trying to do. So when I say the NFL is in bad shape, because they had a goal and they're not reaching it because so many teams are so bad.
What's the movie you're reviewing for us this week?
So I watched this yesterday. I hope some of you watch this, please. It's called Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. It's a new documentary on Apple TV. Do I go for the room?
I know the story, and I'm interested in the story.
I remember when it was released, it did very well in the festivals, and I was waiting for it to come out on streaming.
I imagine it's very hard to watch.
It is extremely hard to watch, and people may not remember the story because I thought I remembered the story, and it turns out that through home video and through all sorts of interesting ways that they made the movie, you find out what he went through truly after the accident, what the family went through, and what the children went through. And while you could call them children of privilege and people of privilege, there was nothing privileged about their life. And when you look at the son, the first time he's on camera, the little boy named Will Reeve, it is mind-boggling. He looks like Superman, but he hasn't had the life of Superman because at the end of the day, we make fun of celebrities and billionaires and whatever you all do. This guy lost his parents. Money doesn't make that feel better in any way. And the truth is, Christopher Reeve wasn't the type of rich that people thought he was. It happens a lot with musicians. It happens all the time, with pro athletes who everyone assumes they retire and never have to work again, and it's just not accurate. It's a really good documentary that has a chance to be shortlisted for an Academy Award.
My dad just texted me and said he also rotates used items.
What?
This is apparently a common thing.
Is it a common thing of certain...
Or they have the same mental illness, I'm not sure.
Age bracket, tax bracket. Speaking of mental illness, we've got a legitimate debate, I would think, between how Jessica feels about marathons and how David Sampson feels about marathons. I believe hot take right now. I believe we could do first take with Jessica and David arguing about the merit of marathons.
What is the negative position you're taking?
I think that the worst thing that Lehman could tell me if I came home from work today was, hey, I'm going to start running marathons.
Oh, because he'll be apart from you training, you mean?
No. No, because there will be an expectation that I go to the marathons that he's running in and wave from the sideline.
Jessica, I'm glad you brought that up because over the weekend, obviously, the New York Marathon happened, and I was staggered at how many people I know who were like,
mic drop.
We're at the marathon standing outside the code, just hey, holding a sign. I'm like, I'm from New York City. I've never done that in my life. Never felt the need to ever be out there to see people run. If anything, it was always a pain in the ass because you can't get from one side of town to the other because they shut down all the streets.
Yeah, I was in New York on Sunday. Same thing. I wanted to see some of my friends. I walked outside. I turned around. I was Homer Simpson's dad. I walked right back inside. I was not going anywhere on Sunday. But that was.
I can only tell you.
Go ahead, David.
No, I'm sorry, but we need you. You as a spectator, it's so helpful to the runners. The sound, the noise, the cheering. You put your name on the front of your jersey and just strangers are cheering for you and helping you go when you don't think your body can go. So New York is the best marathon in the world in terms of spectators. The wall of sound on First Avenue off the 59th Street Bridge is like nothing you've ever heard. And I'm not asking, Lehman wouldn't be asking you to go watch. It's really hard to be a spectator, you're right. But encouraging people to do marathons and taking that first step, it's an amazing thing that I would hope that you'd all be behind, is the level of discipline required to have your body do something that, is hard to do.
I think this guy is the bigger hero than anyone running in the marathon. This is the guy that uses a broom to shoo people away from
unregistered
runners away from the track. He is just in the middle of the street, getting the, I don't know how, he spots them from a mile away, and he's like, get out of here. And they're like, no, I'm going to keep going. He's like, no.
Is he an actual and official? Like, people are listening to him, and do they have
in a
to?
bathrobe with a broom? You think he's an actual official?
People are listening to him. Look, this lady's like, all right, I'll leave.
Because if someone with a bathroom and a broom comes up to you and tries to change the rules of society, you'll listen because they're crazy.
So that's one of the great volunteers. I would shout out to so many of the thousands of people who volunteered during the marathon. What's happening there is you sweep the cups after a water station because it gets super slippery for the runners.
Okay.
So she's sweeping the strewn cups that people have taken water and thrown on the ground. There's volunteers who sweep that away.
Dan and me were on the same page. We thought he was like the Sandman at the Apollo, right? He's sleeping
that's my bad.
I think, David, though, to go back for a second, it's not that I don't think that the people that are cheering on the marathon runners are incredible and they're showing support, and it would be incredible to run in one of these races. It's just that I don't want to ever be doing that for my boyfriend, personally.
And you can just be honest with him, and that's totally fine. But the funny part is that you're saying that now. When you see the time, effort, and dedication that he would put into training just to get to the start line, you would go and watch him because you love him that much.
No, she wants to watch Notre Dame on Saturday. David, thank you. Good seeing you.
Take care.
Folks, the NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards? Who's grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook
Nexus
app
is
and use
becoming a
code DAN.
bust.
That's code DAN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. My mouth is salivating at that deal. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball.
Stugatz here for my friends over at Simply Safe. The holiday season is right around the corner. That means you're away more, and burglars know it. That means you need to protect your home. Right now, Simply Safe is giving exclusive early access to its Black Friday sale to Levitard Show listeners. Simply Safe is the home security I trust to keep my home and family safe. Simply Safe is a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. Old school systems only take action once someone is already inside your home. That's too late. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. If someone's lurking around or acting suspiciously, those agents see them in real time, talk to them directly, set off
Mitchell
the
Trubisky
spotlight,
and Justin
call the
Fields.
police before they've had a chance to break in. Simply Safe is offering my listeners exclusive early access to their Black Friday sale. This week only, you can take 60% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/DLB to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this holiday season. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Don Levitard.
Sugar daddies. These things, I'm telling you.
I love sugar daddies.
They get
I like
stuck
those
in your
too.
teeth. Like, you can't chew them. They're like impossible to chew. They are impossible to chew.
Every day.
Stugatz. This is the Don
I know, right?
Levitard Show with the Stugatz.
Hey guys, welcome back to Gen CFB. This is a pimple patch, all right? I got to say it, I get zits. I'm not proud of it, but I do. But I take care of it, so don't worry about it.
I can't believe we're already going into week 11. It just blows my mind how fast the season goes by, Lucy. What was your main issue, takeaway, thought after seeing these playoff rankings?
It's the same issue I have every single time the playoff rankings come out, that I'm like, what are your metrics? Like, what are we ranking things off of? Because I don't know. It's quality wins, it's quality losses, it's eye test, it's all of these different things that nothing seems to align with. This one's interesting because there's 12 teams now. Obviously, that changes everything, and there's so much more room for things to change over the next few weeks. But Penn State being ranked 6th above Indiana, I thought was kind of crazy. I understand that Penn State did have a close loss, but Indiana has no close wins. They have no losses. They have beat every team by 8 million points. They did trail this week, but ended up winning still by 37. So, like, I don't know. It's just, it feels like they're sowing the seeds for just kind of teams we expect in the playoff to be there, not necessarily based off of how they've played, where they rank compared to other schedules, whatever. They just make shit up.
Indiana's ranked number 8, like you said, behind Tennessee and Penn State. And so there's a question of how much preseason expectations and rankings really weigh on the committee, even this far into the season, because I think if Indiana were ranked in the top 25 going into this college football season, they'd be ranked a lot higher this week, at least a couple spots higher, at least higher than Penn State. And obviously, like you said, it's only the first week. Indiana's playing Michigan this weekend, where they're a big favorite, and I think that will be a good boost for them, even though we know this Michigan team is not as elite as it was last year. They've lost a handful of games. That'll be a good comparison test because we saw Texas play against Michigan earlier this season, and we saw a healthier Michigan team even in that game. So I think things will change, obviously, as more games get played. Alabama and LSU still play this weekend, so it's going to change very quickly. But I'm with you on Indiana, and so I wanted to bring up Ward Manuel's comments about Indiana and Penn State it's actually this question was about specifically why Penn State was ahead of Tennessee and BYU, Lucy. So last weekend we saw Penn State and Ohio State play each other. Obviously, Ohio State won. And Ward Manuel said this: Penn State lost to the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes, and it was a game that went back and forth, and obviously a game that could have gone the other way. It was back and forth. True or false, do you agree with that statement?
This game has not been back and forth for 10 years. Like, what are we talking about?
He also said they also have wins over Illinois and Southern Cal in overtime, an opening win at West Virginia, which is difficult to play, so we looked at their body of work.
Okay, close wins against USC, those are losses. Those are losses. Burt Bielema cannot be the standard. You can't say you beat Burt, so you should be a top 10 team.
Right, and that also, well, I'll keep moving.
Why does it keep turning up my shit?
Very easily, but yes, like USC has really fallen off a cliff this year. They benched their quarterback this weekend. They're moving on after just another awful performance. So the next thing he said was Tennessee has an impressive win over Alabama. True. And wins over North Carolina State and Oklahoma. Oklahoma, okay. They're 4-1 against teams above 500. The loss of Arkansas was something we discussed a lot. So looking at the resume, looking at what we've seen, the offensive performance, their tight end Tyler Warren, this is back to Penn State now, is a dominating force on offense. I think Penn State, in terms of their body of work and what the committee saw, in terms of their body of work, came to the ranking at 6 and Tennessee at 7. Okay, so this is like the reasoning, and when you get into the nitty gritty, Lucy, that is also my reaction. I'm just like, okay, all right, I think BYU should be higher. They're undefeated. I think Indiana should be higher. They're undefeated. If they lose, they'll go back down. There's still a month left of football.
What's the point of hyping up Tyler Warren if James Franklin doesn't use him when absolutely necessary? Does it matter then? Like, what are we doing? You don't just get to name. If we're just naming tight ends, then you better put Iowa in the top 10.
I mean, Michigan. Put Michigan up there too.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot of good tight ends. We're making good tight ends this year. Yeah. It's just it's an interesting process, one that we were gonna obviously keep an eye on because while I like that we get to see the college football playoff committee's like thought process and reasoning starting this week, there's always some baffling things that happen in the first ranking, like Missouri at 24.
What are we doing? And they have like talked about like we're using the eye test.
I'm not sure. Stop fucking sending me ads.
Not a very strong strength of schedule. If you are using the eye test with Mizzou, you should go see an ophthalmologist. They're bad. They're not good.
No. Okay, so we talked about the sort of undefeated power conference schools. Any surprises with you seeing Boise up there at number 12?
I was a little surprised that they were ranked as high. I think that Boise State is in such a good position right now. And it's kind of the interesting thing with this playoff is that it actually applies to everybody. You win out and you're already in the top 10, top 12, you're good. Yeah, it's their spot to lose. I think I saw a lot of like discourse just about like, wow, that 5-12 matchup is really going to suck. Boise State's very good. They challenged Oregon this year. They have the best player in college football. I think that they'll.
Why would it take 10 days? It should be instantaneous.
Being a lot higher. I have a hard time imagining that a 2-loss SEC team would be ranked lower than a 1-loss Boise State team. So I kind of think they're going to end up staying in that spot. I only really see them dropping, not raising at all, which will still keep them in the 12th seed.
Yeah, SMU coming in at 13, I think again is like because you saw BYU go down to 9, SMU's only losses to BYU, so that sort of like puts them in that place. Clemson all the way down to 23 after losing to Louisville. Now Louisville is ranked in the top 25. Miami, that really helps Miami because they beat Louisville earlier this season. It also helps Notre Dame because they beat Louisville earlier this season. Iowa State, brutal loss last weekend, Lucy. They're at 17. Do you see a world in which the loser of the Big 12 or the ACC makes the playoff if it is one of the undefeated teams losing to a one-loss team?
I think that if Miami loses, they could still very much make the playoff, but I don't think that applies to anybody
Check my
else.
mouth because
The
I'm
Big
thinking of getting
12
me
has
some
just
food.
been, it's absorbed all of what was left of the Pac-12 in the sense that they're just beating the literal shit out of each other. So, like, I don't see, obviously, if you win the
Cheesy
conference
grits.
title, you're in, and I think that's what it's going to take. Like, I don't see BYU losing again and then making it because I just genuinely think that if you look at this again, if there's a 2-loss or a 3-loss Big Ten team that has more brand value than BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, even though Kansas State had a horrible loss, they're not making it. I don't think they'll ever pick a Big 12 team over a Penn State, over Big 10 bias. Any sort of big, like they're going to pick Alabama over BYU every single time.
Well, let's move on maybe to our rivalries from Week 10, Lucy, unless you have any other thoughts on the playoff.
I would be okay if I didn't hear quality losses for a while. Shut up, Billy, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that was a big Billy Gill thing with the NFL. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened last weekend now. This is sort of a crossover topic. Vandy versus the College Football Playoff Committee, Lucy. Vanderbilt was the only team that was ranked in the AP poll this week, but was not in the College Football Playoff Top 25. What the hell, man?
They spent the whole show talking about how the SEC's never been better, but you don't put Vanderbilt in there. Half of the reason when they were going for the playoff where they were like, wow, Mizzou 24th. I guess it's because of that quality win over Vanderbilt. And then you're not going to put them in there? Don't be disrespectful. Don't be rude.
They said that about Texas, too.
My
They're like,
God, what the
Texas
hell?
beat Vanderbilt on the road. I'm like, well, then where? But Vanderbilt obviously coming off of a great win over Auburn this past week, in which is another big rivalry from Week 10. Diego Pavia versus Hugh Freeze. Lucy, what's going on?
I don't know if we can call it a rivalry because that would require Hugh Freeze to win against Diego Pavia ever, and that has not happened. He is 0-3 against our superhero, savior of college football, Diego Pavia. He beat him Diego Pavia won while at New Mexico State over both Liberty and Auburn, and then this weekend Vanderbilt beat Auburn, I believe, at Auburn, which has pushed Hugh Freeze to a worse record than Brian Person had, but they're not ready for that conversation quite yet. Yeah, this isn't even a rivalry. This is, look,
an ass kicking.
This is an ass kicking, and it's one we like to see, and I think it's really disgusting of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee to not acknowledge it.
Yeah, I agree with you. We need to respect Vanderbilt. People are like, oh, Cal is only 6 points away from being undefeated. Well, what about Vanderbilt? They lost their games by some pretty small margins, and so they should be. I mean, not that Cal is ranked either, as they shouldn't be. They lost to Florida State. But anyways, I digress. There was a little bit of a frosty handshake, maybe a budding South Florida rivalry this past week. It was one of the weekday games. I think it was Friday night. It might have been Thursday night. I can't even remember. All the days blend together right now. But Alex Golesh and Tom Herman with an icy, frosty, no handshake thing after USF and FAU played. Lucy, what?
15-18.
Is this a budding rivalry now?
I think it's a rivalry between the two coaches, not between the two schools. This game was a blowout. So my understanding of this situation was the handshake happened. We'll have a video. I'll narrate it for you.
Final road game seasons have 3 straight home games. LSU, Ole Miss, and actually no, final road games at Florida State.
Followed him back and was
Graham
like
Mertz out.
attacking him and whatever.
Yeah.
And so this is in relation
Okay, so
to
Lagway is only questionable, but
USF beat the Little
Graham
Chiefs
Mertz
last
towards
night.
ACL. His career is over, unfortunately.
Double digits, 44-21.
Yes, and USF decided to go for 2 when they clearly didn't need to do that. However, reverse Uno card, this happened last year in the same situation, but FAU under Tom Herman decided to go for an onside kick when it was unnecessary. So it was just a little bit of like
Dominic
back and
Ngakwe is
forth.
not panned out.
I think it's valid. You can't don't dish it if you can't take it.
I heard that Tom Herman or one of his staff members had made a mean comment about USF in the offseason, which I couldn't find, but yeah, like you said, there was a big like I want to shake your hand moment on the field post game that was very funny.
I went and like read up on like I was reading just like the worst like most bummy articles ever about this that they were like this is not a real source, but there was like he said stuff about his family and his background and where he came from, and I'm like, what are we talking? I didn't think it was real, so that's why I'm saying it with a caution here. But
Apparently he said like we don't like them and I hope they don't like us, but
yeah,
it seems like there's more to it.
yeah, the way I read it was like Alex Golis being like, I hate Tom Herman's family, or vice versa. I don't know. It doesn't seem. I read it and then I looked. I said, I don't know if this is a website I should be on. To take my MacBook to Apple Care after visiting this website. So again, my laptop shattered internally, and I have a zip. And I've just been going through a lot recently. It's okay. Everything's cool. Don't worry. At least our country's in a good spot. So, but yeah, that's my takeaway. Everything's awesome.
Well, we already mentioned
No, it's
a little
not,
bit
Lucy.
about
Stop fucking
Penn State
running.
and Ohio State. There was another budding rivalry. This has been ongoing for a couple of years now. Penn State fans versus James Franklin. Now, I know that there's a lot of Penn State fans that are like, James
I'll
Franklin's
do
done great
pizza
things to
this
this
time.
program,
I
and we're
did
actually in a
Domino's
really good
last
spot,
time.
even though we
I'll do
can
pizza
never
this
beat
time.
Ohio State.
Not sponsored, by the way.
This is the right coach for us. He's done good things here. There's also a lot of Penn State fans that were heckling James Franklin after the Ohio State game. Lucy, break this down for us.
There were definitely more heckling than not. So this was the game we were at, and obviously the game ends, and I look over by the student section, and Texas has started just the nastiest trend. Everybody's throwing trash. So all the Penn State fans are throwing water bottles and trash onto the field. They go over the PA, and they're like, hey, stop throwing trash. That's not allowed. Okay, people are starting to leave the stadium, and then they're like, well, thank you guys for coming out, blah, blah, blah. You guys can tune in to the James Franklin radio show, and the second that they said James Franklin, it was the loudest I've heard the stadium go.
Oh, no.
Just a barrage of boos. We try to make our way into the locker room, which, by the way, Penn State's locker room, like, fans like can wait outside of it because it's how they have to like get through the stadium. So like there are fans being held off. There's a lot of people there. James Franklin ends up getting an interaction with a fan in the stands who is, telling him he sucks or whatever, and James Franklin's like, tell me your name. If you're gonna say it, be bold enough to tell me your name. Which like most of the time I'm all for like, hey, if you're gonna say something shitty, you should be held accountable for it. But like I don't know if this was the right time or place for that, James. I feel like maybe we could
ignore it.
Yeah, maybe we could have just left this, but the kid just turned around. It didn't tell him his name. Also, just lie, say a fake name, just see more butts or whatever, and then bam, we got James Franklin starting.
More wiener.
There we go.
Mexican legend. Yeah, oh man, yeah, it was not a great moment.
And then as he walked into the
Yeah,
locker
donut
room,
bites.
as that happened, there were all these fans lined up, and they were all chanting "Fire Franklin" as he walked by. Like it was like a public just stoning in a sense, which I would normally feel bad for him. However, Penn State fans have watched that game 8 times in a row, and it's played out exactly the same. And it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
And so have we, college football fans. And I'm
I'm
honestly,
not
I'm
gonna
sick of
lie,
it.
this
I'm
looks
boycotting Penn State, Ohio State until Penn State wins that series. I'm over it. One other or two other two other nice little rivalry moments this weekend, Lucy. Shane Beamer versus a random SEC team in the top 10 on a random night on a random season in college football. How does he keep pulling this off?
It's gotta make Penn State fans so mad to be like, how do you get to do this once a year? What do you mean you get to beat a top 10 team once a year? That can't be allowed. Yeah, South Carolina has really taken on what like Purdue sort of was to the Big Ten for a few years, where they're like, you don't want to see them, you don't know what you're gonna get, which they played incredibly well. I think what was so insane about this game, this win over A&M, was that they dominated. It wasn't a close game by any means. Like the score was closer than it actually was. Looked like a great atmosphere. Made me sad that I didn't get to go to the night game, that I went to the day game.
We could have climbed over the hedges.
I know, it looked cool. It made me so sad because I was like, why did you guys not beat us against Ole Miss? I would have had way more fun. But insane because they lost. But yeah, and then Shane Beamer brought his wife into the locker room and they sang her a song, and he seemed just like a real fun, cool guy. So yeah, South Carolina just has this energy. They did the same thing to Tennessee a few years ago. They used to do this to Georgia all the time. They're just like, we may not have the best season ever, but we'll ruin yours.
Yeah, their defense outplayed Texas A&M's defense, and Texas A&M just like they couldn't stop South Carolina. That was a really fun one. Before we move on to our Week 11 preview, Lucy, do you want to talk about Pitt and Iowa State fans versus the AP poll, Mike Norvell versus 2024, or Clemson fans versus other Clemson fans?
It's tough. Well, I always like talking about how Florida State has won one game this season, which is not good. That's bad. Carolina beat them this weekend. Shout out Taylor. I think I want to go Pitt and Iowa State fans versus the AP poll. Not very happy campers, especially Iowa State fans. I'm on that side of Twitter. They were like, we shouldn't be 11 cheering us about Clemson. We're better than Clemson. We should be number one. We're the number one team in the world. We haven't lost. And then they lost.
Yep. I saw a lot of Pitt and Iowa State fans last week when they were both undefeated, really mad at the AP poll voters, and then both proceeded to lose, which then, it goes to show you, Lucy, even if you're ranked, even if you're undefeated, it's hard to go undefeated in a college football season. It's hard to win games, and now we're entering November, which is when it gets even harder. There's going to be weather at play. Injuries are piling up for a lot of these teams, and I think things are going to get slightly more unpredictable down this final stretch, especially as we see teams sort of like play their way out of the college football playoff, which could happen
I
this weekend
agree.
with number 11 Alabama at number 14
As long as
the first game we're going to preview.
there is nobody actually trying to intentionally spear somebody
Very, very excited.
or go helmet to helmet on another player, then I would understand having a targeting call. But that was not a targeting call.
This week 11 is going to be great, and it is brought to you by Hampton Farms Peanuts. Get nutty with Hampton Farms Peanuts, the official snack nut of the tailgate. I know they're going to have Hampton Farms Peanuts at LSU. They tailgate so well. There's no way they wouldn't have them there.
Yes, you're 100% right. They have the spicy ones too. So LSU coming up. No, you are. I think you've said that in every episode that we've had. Hampton Farms.
They're the best.
Well, LSU's coming off a bye. We're going to find out if they were able to fix their QB run game. Alabama, both teams really have to win this game, right? Like, Alabama has to win it to stay where they're at number 11 in the college football playoff rankings. LSU lost to USC earlier in the season. They lost to Texas A&M in a very dramatic, not because it was close, but dramatic in that it was shocking fashion last 2 weeks ago. So stakes are at an all-time high for this one. It kind of feels like 2022 when Alabama had lost to Tennessee and came into Death Valley, and Brian Kelly finally defeated Nick Saban. But now Brian Kelly against Kalen DeBoer, LSU and Garrett Nussmeier against Jalen Milroe, our unanimous September Heisman finalist, actually our unanimous Heisman September champion. Lucy, I'm picking Alabama to win this game, but I don't feel good about it.
I'm picking LSU, not confidently. Well, when I saw the stat, I'm sorry, the stat might make you sick, Jess, but Brian Kelly has not lost a night game.
Yeah, it's crazy how people would just say shit like that.
I think that's going to play a factor in this. I just am having a hard time buying into either of these teams right now. now, but Alabama has not looked good. I know they turned it around against Mizzou, but like we kind of talked about it. It's Mizzou. This is a playoff elimination game, which is kind of crazy. I think LSU is going to win because I think Alabama really does.
Damn, it took them 5 years to open.
Their identity isn't clear right now. Their defense isn't clear right now. And I'm not saying that LSU is in a much better spot, but they have the better environment, which will make a huge difference.
You're right, Lucy. I'm going against the grain here, picking against LSU night games, which I said a few weeks ago when they played Ole Miss. I was never going to do, but I just did it. So I'm picking Alabama. Another big SEC game, Georgia at Ole Miss. Carson Beck. What's going on with Carson Beck? He is throwing picks left. He is throwing picks right. He is a turnover machine right now. And Ole Miss defense, they're pretty good against the pass, Lucy. I don't feel very good about Carson Beck not turning the ball over right now.
It is insane how bad he has looked over the last few weeks. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like you don't have Brock Bowers anymore, you don't have Lad McConkey, you don't have these guys that you've been so accustomed to, and these really great receivers. But yeah, he looks shitty. I just don't tend to trust Lane Kiffin in these big game situations. He doesn't seem to win. I do think Ole Miss is very good, but I just think Georgia is better. So I do think Georgia's going to win.
I agree with you. I'm going to pick Georgia. I don't know why. I mean, maybe I'm doing the old eye test because I think Georgia, if you look at like some of the advanced stats and stuff, they could be pretty evenly matched. But I do think Georgia's defense is going to just fall out in this game and make things very difficult for Ole Miss's run attack, and they're going to have to just have Jackson Dart's going to have a really good game to win this one. So I'm taking Georgia. Before we go, we're running out of time, but a couple other big games. We mentioned Michigan and Indiana. They're playing this weekend. Indiana is a big favorite. This is going to be a style points game, I think, for Indiana. A, they got to win the game. B, I think, Lucy, they got to cover that 14.5-point spread. Do you think they'll do it?
I do. Michigan cannot score points. They cannot do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean Michigan's defense is pretty injured right now, not starting all their best. But if Indiana can score a lot, I don't see Michigan being able to match that. Colorado and Texas Tech. We obviously have not talked about Colorado nearly as much as we probably should have this year because we talked about them way too much last year. But this is a really big game. Texas Tech, is capable of upsetting top teams, especially in the Big 12. So Colorado, Texas Tech, Lucy. Are you picking the Buffaloes, the Buffs?
I don't know who I'm picking in this one. The thing with Texas Tech is we've seen that they can pull an upset. We've also seen that they can lose to Baylor. So you're like, oh, I don't know about.
Okay, but Baylor sneaky is gonna make a bowl game. I don't know. Like what happened? They beat TCU this weekend.
There's too much happening. There's too much going on. I'm gonna stay away from this one. I'm leaning towards Colorado, but games in Lubbock always are weird. Something is always off.
Man, I was just reveling in the graphic of Baker Mayfield versus Pat Mahomes that was on Monday Night Football this week, where they showed how many offensive yards and pass attempts and touchdowns they scored in that game from 2016, and I was just staring at Patrick Mahomes with 88 pass attempts. Man, I miss the old Big 12. Those were the good old days.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
All right, Lucy. South Carolina at Vanderbilt. Any chance Vandy pulls off another big upset?
I think Vanderbilt will win. I think South Carolina used a lot of their juju last week. They don't tend to do it back to back. They get like the one and it's awesome, and they're like, all right, well we did it. Check that box. Let's go to the Mayo Bowl. I'm leaning Vanderbilt on this one. It's also at home for Vandy too, and I'm wearing my brand new Vanderbilt dad shirt, courtesy of Raymond. So yeah, I hopped on the Vandy bandwagon. So what? What are you gonna do? Anchor down.
Go Doors, I think.
Yeah.
Howdy, folks. It's Mike. It's football season. It's November. The leaves are turning colors and pads are popping. From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineup, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked way back in 1975. Great taste versus less filling.
John Simpson, super underrated. Barrett Tucker needs to pan out. Dude, to be okay, to have everybody okay with that first round.
Less filling. because Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. It's a beer that strips everything away that you don't need and holds on to what matters most. Hold on to it the way that you hold on to a football for ball security, high-end type, or the way that you hold on to that beautiful white can on the outside. With the temperature dipping, you don't even need a koozie anymore. How sweet is that? Make your game time taste like Miller time. Taste great and less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Learn how to start making money flipping homes and building long-term wealth with rental properties. To get 2 free tickets, text
Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together with good drinks and good people. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka and is an official vodka partner of the NFL. And this year, Smirnoff is giving fans in select areas of the country a chance to win the ultimate game day experience.
Black
For
Monster
tickets,
out for the season.
sideline passes, and much more, just head to WeDoGameDays.com until November 15, 2024 to enter for your chance to win. That's WeDoGameDays.com. Smirnoff. We do game days.
Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. Ends November 15, 2024. See rules at website for participating area and other important details. Sponsored by Diageo Americas Inc., New York, New York.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start. Same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time.
Trademarks owned by Beckler. SAB the CD. Copyright 2024. Proxima. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
This is the Dan Levator Show with the Stuttgart podcast.
All in my ass.
I tend to turn to this man in need of wisdom in times of trouble, in times of soothing, in times of laughter. I did not find a whole lot of people in America talking yesterday or the last couple of days in a way that felt in any way authentically soothing or hopeful. I felt a lot of people trying to do that, as the UK, a newspaper in the UK, had an
She
illustration
didn't
of the
feel out for
Statue
the
of Liberty
season.
holding a gun to her head, and the headline read simply, "The End." And look, Meach, that makes him laugh. Look at him. During these troubling times, Amici is laughing at the Statue of Liberty, because it is. It's a good, it's obviously got a lot of doom and dark humor in it, but you like your dark humor, and I
do.
I am curious what your thoughts are as you see, it seems like America is in deep and desperate peril.
So that's definitely how I felt at about 5 in the morning yesterday, day before, whenever it was. It's definitely how I felt, terror. But despite the fact that I think it is a searing indictment of any person to align yourself with a serial sexual offender. There is always hope, and there are people who want to still create a better world out there. Human dignity didn't die yesterday, and people's regard for it didn't dissipate. Some of the pressure against poor behavior has been relieved, and that's going to cause us some problems over the next decade, probably. There's certainly a legislative pressure that many of us feel, the idea that things could be made law that would make our lives much harder. But there's always hope. When the Pandora's box was opened, lots of nasties came out, and sometimes you just have to dig deep and look in the bottom, and there is hope, and there will be hope.
it felt like a loss for decency, though. Wherever it is that you align, and we can make it about the economy, we can make it about I'm out of touch. I don't understand what surrounds me because the money issue is a real one. And I do understand, John, anyone who has money problems, who think there are no larger problems than being able to pay for basic necessities and is mad at government because of that, I totally get that as a vantage point. But for that to usurp every other decency, John.
Yeah, I mean, I try to give human beings a little more agency nowadays, because I think I developed what was a rather overly paternal view. This idea that if people made poor decisions, it was because they were stupid, or it was because they'd been misled, or they didn't know any better. And I think it is a much more honest, if slightly disappointing view, to consider that people knew that he was a criminal and a philanderer, and they understood that that was not compatible with their own teachings or lives. It's certainly not something they'd want from their partners. It's not something they'd want for their children. Most people who have jobs recognize that it's not qualities they want in the people they hire. But, and this is the searing indictment of it, Donald Trump hates all the right people for a lot of people. He behaves in a way, as cartoonish as it is, that almost all of us have
Let's
wanted to
go.
behave at one time or another. When some pompous, officious person has been in our way, we've wanted to just push them out the way and stand at the front because we did this project. Or we're from the biggest company, or
Let's
we're the
go.
biggest person. And he does that. And there's something on a very base level that's appealing about that. So I'm not surprised. I mean, nobody should be surprised that he won. He is the epitome of how so many of us wish we could operate around people that we might have legitimate grievances against. But what people have forgotten is that that's how he operates around everybody. This is the man who would call for the murder of innocent people. This is the man who says that not all human beings are even human. This is the person who uses the language of the blood of America being poisoned. So I think when people look at him, his superficial appeal, they kind of give over their conscience into this one man, relieving the pressure that they might feel for voting for somebody they know to be unfit in so many ways, even if he is a financial genius, which I think evidence would suggest he's not. The problem is when you donate your conscience to someone without one, it's consumed by a black hole. And that is definitionally insatiable.
I want to read something to you, and I want to paraphrase Von Lathan, who has said it is the height of white privilege to think that there is no amount of failing that Donald Trump can do to be considered a failure, no amount of criminal things that he can do to be considered a criminal, no amount of rapes to be a rapist, no amount of racist things to be racist, that there is no way to knock him down because he is now quite literally above the law. Now you cannot even say nobody's above the law. He is now literally above the law. This from the New York Times, John. Donald Trump told Americans exactly what he planned to do. He would use military force against his political opponents. He would fire thousands of career public servants. He would deport millions of immigrants in military-style roundups. He would crush the independence of the Department of Justice, use government to push public health conspiracies, and abandon America's allies abroad. He would turn the government into a tool of his own grievances, a way to punish his critics and richly reward his supporters. He would be a dictator, if only on day one. And when asked to give the power to do all of that, the voters said yes. This was a conquering of the nation not by force, but with a permission slip. Now America stands on the precipice of an authoritarian style of governance never before seen in its 248-year history. What are your thoughts there, John?
Well, it has been seen before, just not by a third of the population. So let's get that right. An authoritarian style of governance that restricted the freedom of the few, relatively speaking, while ingratiating the many, or that's happened before. That's been the experience of many people before. So I think it's again, we can either suggest that all of these people are stupid, which is so convenient for them and for us to do that patronizing thing where they just don't know any better. But they heard his words and they didn't care for the consequences because they thought the consequences didn't come to them. And that, to me, is an indictment of any person's spirit. It's an indictment of any person's ethics. The idea that you know that what someone will do will be monstrous, but because of the target of that monstrosity won't be you, have at it. And when you know the monster, its hands and teeth still dripping with blood, is handing you a morsel. For me, the cost of that is too high. Dan, I expatriated this year.
Did you really?
I was born in America. I grew up in England, obviously, but I was born in America.
Hmm.
I've paid taxes in both countries my entire life. And I expatriated this year because I knew this was coming. It came through in July. I am a British citizen only. Now I stand in the long queue. Well, I don't. I've got global entry. But it is, I can't be associated with that. And I say that knowing that I could end up stateless if I take these principles with my own country, which is equally egregious in so many ways.
Less
It's
though.
simply our accent makes us sound less monstrous.
Meeks, what's the process of expatriating? What do you actually do in order to make that so?
Oh, it's huge. You've got to. It's hugely expensive. They make it very expensive now. Yeah, it used to be about 10 years ago when I first looked at it. Maybe a little bit more than that. I first looked at it. It was like, oh, you don't want to be an American? We're the best country in the world. Screw you. And it was pretty much a sign and go. And now it's a very expensive process where you have to go and be interviewed by a very specific kind of officer at one of the embassies who asks you questions about why, almost incredulous, well, why would you want to not be American? And I don't want to be thought of as associated with the orange autocrat. I would be mortified if I thought my money was being used for the legal defense of, I don't know, police officers who were murdering indiscriminately black people.
Exactly.
So I don't want
People
that
forget about John
anymore,
Ricci. Not only is
and
he
I won't have that
born
anymore.
in America, he's English now because
It's
he's lived in England
this country.
for the most of his life.
A
But
case of
he's
one
also
product
black.
is
So that's why he hates the fact that a lot of black folks and Hispanic folks and Italian and Irish and his and other Asian folks are getting killed because of police brutality, and nobody's talking about it. And I don't like being political on my channel, but I really need to have somebody to explain to me why is that happening.
But the tone at times feels just like a cartoon episode where their head is tilting and tilting and tilting. It's like, what? What? You're going to give up this? This is a passport to the world. And, especially now as I feel more exposed because Britain's not in the EU anymore. But I can't rationalize the connection that I don't need to have when I have to worry about the poor behavior of my own government, even as it's a Labour government now, and the poor behavior of my government over the last 20 years.
What was the tipping point for you? Like, it's not a small gesture for
It's gonna be a
you
tough game. Let's
to
get it.
do all of
Let's
this
get
and
it.
go through this expense.
The
You're
Falcons
very
have been the best team
meticulous
so far
about
in the
still
division. So
choosing to
let's
announce
see.
your
Let's see what we can
return
do.
un-American. So explain to me what the tipping point was on that, because you have seen this coming. And
It's
while I
on
cannot
Westwood War.
pretend to be surprised with 8 years of mourning about what happened yesterday, I somehow find myself not surprised and also still shell-shocked. If both of those things are allowed to coexist, and those things coexisting make me feel weaker, makes me feel fundamentally like I've got a sickness on me for 2 days.
Yeah. I mean, as political discourse in America as we started to, even the beginning of the year,
Touchdown Ravens.
in terms of politics was going to be the trend. It changed obviously later on. Any Trump Republicans on Twitter, and I watched the behavior, and I watched the behavior of this. Are they fans or are they?
Roman caught the ball.
Yeah.
He's a boy.
And cultists and worshippers, perhaps, is a better word and a more fitting word for what he wants. I watched the behavior of them, and then I watched the reporting, and I don't know who it was, but I watched one of the news shows somebody said, it's amazing to me that we're talking about Kamala Harris for the weaknesses of whatever else, but we're ignoring
football.
that he's supposed to show up, and when he does
Come on, what's
show
one
up,
series?
and when he does show up, are so for a decent person of any standing and certainly in a suitable format who would lead a nation. And it was incredible. I watched it and I could see how when you normalize that and then create this standard for any other candidate,
Hi,
when you can
everybody. I'm
watch
Scott
one
Graham. We
person who
welcome you to
can
Thursday Night
barely
Football
grasp
here
the
on
door
Westwood One and
of
a
a
big
bin lorry,
matchup
of a rubbish
inside the division in the
van,
AFC
what
North
do you call
tonight
them?
in Baltimore.
Refuse thing.
As the
Yeah,
Ravens,
there you go.
who come in with a 6-3 record, take on the Cincinnati Bengals, who come in at 4-5. Now, this is the second game between these two teams. First time back in Week 5 on October the 6th was about as dramatic as a game could possibly be, ending with a Baltimore win in overtime. Since that time, both of these teams are 3-1. Since that time, both of these teams have won 3 straight coming into this one. And this is an intriguing matchup as Joe Burrow goes up against a last-ranked pass defense. I know that's hard to hear if you're a Ravens fan. On the other side, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are putting together a record-setting type season with the ball on the ground. For more, we'll head out to M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. Welcome to the two guys calling tonight's action, Ian Eagle and Devin McCourty. Guys. And Scott, that first meeting was epic. 41-38, a shootout in overtime as the Ravens defeated Cincinnati. We've got an AFC North duel here tonight. Devin, we know these two teams have a lot of history with one another, and the common thread this year, both got out of the gates very slowly. Cincinnati was 0-3, the Ravens were 0-2. Baltimore steadied itself. They put themselves in good position at 6-3. They've absorbed some tough losses a couple of weeks ago to Cleveland, but this offense is stacked. And Lamar Jackson is performing like an MVP once again.
And their slow start was based off this offense finding its rhythm. You add Derrick Henry, we all got excited. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson in the backfield, they had to figure out what they were going to do. Once they did, the ability to have the dual threat of Lamar and Derrick Henry, but then Lamar continued to develop as a passer, throwing the ball down the field. I think Zay Flowers is turning into probably the most dynamic player in the NFL with the ball in his hands and space, and that's along with Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, who I know we won't see tonight, but also now the addition of Deontay Johnson, just weapons everywhere for Baltimore.
What's going on defensively, though, with Baltimore? Because this is not normally a topic that we would tackle in regards to the Ravens. The numbers are not good. The rankings are very low. What's happening in your eyes?
They lost a lot. Geno Stone, Patrick Queen leave. You lose Mike McDonald, your defensive coordinator, but then you lose 2 defensive assistants under him. So I think this team is still trying to process the coaches, their new roles and what they have to do. And then in the secondary, it's just too many guys having the one, what we used to call the one, my bad. My bad, I was outside leverage. I should have been inside. My bad, I should have been over here. I was over there. Oh, I thought it was zone, but it was man. When you have too many of those, you end up the last place team in the NFL in pass defense. So they have to correct it. And as you try to progress and want to be a good playoff team, this is a good test tonight. Joe Burrow and that offense, they've been able to throw the ball all around the field, even though it hasn't always resulted in wins.
Joe Burrow threw for 5 touchdowns the last time these two teams met. He threw for 5 touchdowns last week. He's the only quarterback in the NFL to have 2
Oh my God.
5 touchdown games this season. They're 4-5. They have a chance to get back to the 500 mark this could be the
from now.
fork in the road in their season. A win, and it could help trigger a playoff and fuel a playoff run. A loss could be a big hole for them to dig out.
It is. This is kind of a must-win, and Joe Burrow spoke about it a couple weeks ago of, hey, we got 9 games left. We need to win 7 of them. It starts with here. You still got to play Pittsburgh twice. Like, their schedule doesn't really feed into the Bengals start slow and then they'll get it going because you still got to win some tough games. So what better way to try to win on the road division rival? You cut them down a game, you gain a game. So big game for Cincinnati tonight.
Injuries for Cincinnati. No Orlando Brown Jr. He is out on that left tackle spot, and no T. Higgins, the wide receiver, out once again, missing his 3rd straight game for the Bengals. Much more still to come as we send it back to Scott Graham in our Progressive Insurance Studios. For a job you'll love, visit progressive.com/careers. Scott.
Thank you very much, guys. We do have a lot more to come as we approach kickoff between the Bengals and the Ravens, including how this game is going to impact your Week 10 fantasy weekend. But when we return, he's a guy who is a big part of what the Ravens are trying to do and recover right now defensively. We're going to talk with Baltimore's Kyle Hamilton. This is Westwood One's coverage of the National Football League.
Seems like a genuinely good guy to talk to. Even the pressure and offensive play arc is so. You lucky that you gave yourself a. You were so lucky I didn't want to get your ass. I didn't want to put you out, but I just want to hit you. Because I don't want to have that mantra of being a dirty team. We're tired of having that damn mantra.
Celebrating 170 years. Certified by Chef to operate in Virginia. Do you feel the need for speed? Hit the new mega track layout at Le Mans Karting. It's Virginia's largest and fastest indoor go-kart track. Plus, there's an arcade, Gel Blaster Arena, axe throwing, as well as endurance league events. All drivers welcome. Your birthday party, fundraising, or team bonding event there. Just a half a mile from Rivers Casino. Le Mans Karting is revving up fun like nowhere else. For the largest and fastest indoor go-karting and more, see LeMansKarting.com. Like most Americans,
Oh my god, bro, that was a touchdown. What the hell, Jake?
Insane interest rates on that debt every month. Same for car loans and personal loans. Stop
That was the perfect opportunity, bro.
Consolidate that debt for you at a significantly lower rate using the equity in your home. Hi, this is Scott Jackson. Low Prado's Express Equity line of credit can get you up to $500,000 so you can consolidate your debt as fast as 5 days. Their average client saves over $1,000 every month by doing this. Right now is the best time to act. With an Express Equity line of credit, you can access up to 90% of your home's equity, usually without an appraisal. Don't put it off. Get your financial house in order for the new year. Call Low Prado now to see what you can save. It's a free quote and there's no credible, unlike those other guys. Call now 757-300-2450. LowPrado.com.
What the hell, Jake? Oh, hell no, no. There's no way! There's no way!
Access.org.
And think about how I can make my for 6 years from now a reality.
24 yards to win.
Folks, the NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards? Who's grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings. The home.
WBL, double YYY Ravens game day now.
Customers bet $5 to get $200 in.
How are y'all not getting any damn yards?
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Dan. That's code Dan for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. My mouth is salivating at that deal. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Blue Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bevo.
I always have the feeling whenever I'm out there warming up on Thursday before the game, it's like, dang, this year already. Can't believe we're about to play our game, but it goes fast.
That means you need to protect
And
your
so
home.
now that it is
Right
gone
now,
fast,
Simply Safe is
here
giving
we are.
exclusive early access
Baltimore
to
team,
Black
as we
Friday
said,
sale
has
at
struggled
11
over the
We're not
top.
touching this one.
Defensive
Simply
side,
Safe is the
especially
home
in
security
stopping
I
pass
trust to
this
keep my
year.
home. and
That is a
barely
big part
safe.
of that.
Simply
Is
Safe is a
Kyle
new way to
Hamilton.
protect your home
I talked
that
with
stops
Kyle this
intruders
week.
before they
A
break
young
into your
man
home.
who
Old school
grew up with
systems
a
only
dad
take
who
action
played
once someone is
professional
already
sports and a
inside your
mom who
home.
decided
That's
that
too
he and his
late.
brother
Simply Safe
had
is
to go
Let's go!
here to protect
they
and
were little
change
kids.
your
Oh!
preventing crime
We got a
before.
turnover!
If someone's lurking around or acting suspiciously, those agents see them in real time,
we
talk to them
talked this
directly,
week.
set
I
off the
asked him why the
spotlight, and even
quarterback he's
call the
facing tonight,
police
Joe
before
Burrow,
they've got a
was such a
chance to
good
break
fit
in.
in the
Simply Safe is
Cincinnati
offering my
offense.
listeners
Yeah, I
exclusive
think
early
not
access to
just
their
this
Black
offense,
Ah, fuck
but
you.
this
any
week
offense
only,
he'd be
you can take
successful, but
60%
he
off
is
any new system with a
very
select professional monitoring
meticulous and
plan. This
calculating
is
in
the
the way he
best
plays
offer
position,
of
and
the year.
he
Head
doesn't
to
make a ton of mistakes. And
simplysafe.com/DLB to claim your
it's
discount
hard
and
to
make
go out
sure your
there
home is
against a
safe
quarterback like
this
that.
holiday season.
You know, you're
Don't wait.
trying to
This
feel like
offer
you're trying
won't
to
last
defend
long.
everything
Keep
with
your
him
home, your
because
family,
he
and your
does such a
peace of
good
mind
job with those guys,
protected
and they've
with Simply
been
Safe.
together for a
There's
while.
no
So
safe
to
like
have
Simply Safe.
that camaraderie just on their side, and that they've gelled, and they're kind of just hitting on all cylinders as an offense. It's a challenge for sure, but I think we have the guys in this room that prove that we can go toe to toe with those guys and prove what we can do too. Talk with a number of your teammates about your coach over the years,
Let's
and the
go.
word that I get back is
Go.
consistent. It's the same. It's the same every day. It's the same every week. It's the same every year. Is that something for a player that it's kind of comfortable to know that I'm going to look over my shoulder right now and I know pretty much what I'm going to see?
Sporting event yesterday when
Yeah,
the
for
team
sure.
loses.
I think,
What?
especially in this league, there's so much turnover every year.
Any of the
And
television.
obviously,
Are you
we
fucking
lost
serious right
coaches, we
now?
lost players, and new players come in, new coaches come in. But I think the main thing stays the main thing here, and culture-wise, there's been continuity for forever, really. I mean, the Ravens are a relatively young franchise, and I feel like since the beginning of Baltimore Ravens football, it's been gritty, it's been hard work, it's been tough. It's been hard to play here. Just it's a challenge, but I feel like everybody who's here and is up to the challenge is successful at the end of the day. So they're gonna get the most out of us, and we're gonna give our most. So tell me how it translates, okay? You are
I
an NFL
was
player every day.
contemplating not
You're
even
good. You're
returning
trying
the
to
ball,
be the
but then I was
best
like, you know what,
version
fuck
of
it, I
yourself
gotta return it.
in practice and on the field.
This is threatening to
Is there
others in a way
anything that
that's more
comes
overt from a
from
politician than I've
Mom
seen in
telling you to
America
pick
before.
out a
I've
word from
never
the
seen it be
dictionary,
quite this
define it,
brazen,
and talk
the
about it
indecency and the
every
hate that
single
becomes
day?
a
Because to
threat to
me, it
anyone
sounds
who's
like those
other,
two things
and then what
actually
backs
might
up
match
behind
somewhere.
him becomes complicit
Yeah,
because you're not
I
paying
think in a
attention
couple
to
ways,
what
for
kind
sure. I
of
think
threat
it's
this is.
What?
The whole thing is built
it's
on
also
top of a
just
foundation
a
of
non-football
threat to
thing, and
other.
I think
It's how it is
that's
he
big
ended up
for us
winning. You
football
can make
players
it
having
about the
something,
economy and
just having a
immigration, but
principle
the
of,
way he
you know,
ended up
this is our
winning is
life.
I'll build
We play
walls
football, we
and
come
I'll
to
get all
work, and
these people
this is
out
our
of
job,
here.
and this
And
is what
then
we love to do.
somehow
But at the same
my
time,
people,
you know,
Hispanics
on
and
times when
others,
you need
think
something
he's
outside
not
of
talking
football
about us.
that you
And I
can
don't know how he
rely
thinks,
on
how we
or
arrive
have
at the
an
place
interest
that
in. And
we think that we know
I think
who
that's kind
he's
of a
talking about,
metaphor for
and he's
going
talking
to
about
get a word
mass
out of the dictionary. You know, I may have
deportations.
been not
Well,
even
if
have
you
taken a shower from my
internalize,
AE
there's a
tournament
couple of
yet when
things
I
here,
get
right? If
home
you
when I was a kid, and
internalize
I'm picking up a dictionary to try to find a new word
Trump's white
for my mom. So
privilege,
that's something that stuck with me,
then
and it's taught
if
me
it
just work
happens for black
ethic and
people, it
just staying
happens
diligent.
for
Is the other part of that too,
Latino,
because
Hispanic
I
people, it
have
happens for
kids.
lots of different
I
people,
got to
right?
imagine that there were
You
times he
always
probably
think
rebelled against that kind of
I'm
thing. Is the fact
recognizably
that
one
it
of the
was
good
turning your
ones.
brain to say, all right,
And so
I've
that isn't,
accepted
I
this. This
don't
is part of who I
celebrate
am. Was that part of it too?
homicidal
For sure, I think
I don't
it's
day
drilled in
labor.
our brains from such a young age that
I'm
it
one of the
becomes
good
the norm.
ones,
And
and
like
anybody would
you're
recognize
100%
that.
correct. There's times where I
Not
did not want to do that,
realizing
or
that Trump is
times when
the
my friends
archetype
are
of the
at the
kind of
pool
person
and
who
I'm
would
at home
recognize
doing
that.
some sort of
But it is an
workbook or something like
indictment
that.
of people.
But my
If
mom
you
always
look at
taught
one
us that you have to
individual
do
and you
what
say,
you have to do before you do what you want to
well,
do. So
Yeah, what the
keeping
hell? How
that
the
in
fuck?
order,
and
that phrase is doing what you have to do before doing what you
philandering
want
is
to do
wrong.
can
It's
solve a lot
No
of problems
I
shit,
that
know
can get
that
you out
Sherlock.
of a lot of
I'm
trouble.
a
It's the
Christian
fact that
and and I believe that sexual assault is wrong, or even trying to be a good, ethical person. Not gas prices.
Physically, but to understanding a little bit more about what this is that you're doing.
And the thing is, I'm privileged. I know I'm privileged. I talk about my privilege all the time.
Numerous amount of years, and
not more privileged than I am. I get to present as a white man while being a minority. But I'm not arguing on behalf of me here. I'm arguing on behalf of who he's a threat to. Like, it's not because I think he's a threat to me. It's because I think he's a threat to the kind of people I care about and have built a media company around at a time that media is threatened and minorities are threatened.
Most people you're assuming that they don't realize who the targets are. It's because they realize who the targets are
a perennial MVP quarterback.
That they think they're
and
safe.
Watching
Because
what
they
that
don't
offense
think
can
that
do in
they're one
terms
of
of being
those
able to
people.
dominate offensively.
There's a wonderful
I'm
woman
gonna
on the
guess,
internet. She
as
does these
close as you
videos where
guys were to
she
it
strums
last
a
year,
ukulele and sings,
this
I never
feels
thought
like
the
a
letters would
team
eat my
that,
face.
if it clicks the
There's
right
going
way,
to be a lot of face
this
eating
month,
going on
next month,
in the
more
next
importantly into
few months
January,
and years.
is this a team that can go
Florida
the entire
experienced
distance?
it when your
100%.
governor
I think it's no question in our
started
minds.
trying to stop
It's just, I think it all comes
undocumented
down to
workers
us.
from working. They
At the
suddenly
end of the day, I
realized, oh,
think we're the
nothing
only
gets built.
team that can stop
Babies
us from
don't get
achieving our
taken
goals.
care
And
of. So
that
much
comes with
stops
execution.
functioning.
That
Same
comes
thing
with
in
taking it
Arizona
one
when
week
they
at a
tried
time
it
and playing
12
every
years
single
ago or
game
so.
like it's the Super Bowl, preparing for every single game like that.
People will see,
It's
but don't
something that
forget,
is preached here
when
from the time you get here
consequences
that
come,
we're playing for a reason.
human
It's to win a
beings are
Super Bowl. We're
incredibly
not
good. It's called
playing for
motivated
guaranteed. We're
reasoning
not playing for this
of
and that.
finding
We're
a
trying to
way
win. So
for the
from
actual
the onset of
cause
the season
to be shifted
until
again.
the
So
outcome
Britain
of the
right now
season,
is
we're
suffering
trying to win the Super Bowl, and I
tremendously.
think
Our
that's
GDP
a
is
culture
down,
thing that
our trading is
kind of
down,
trickled down throughout the
everything
whole
is
facility.
hurt from a
Really
financial
nice to meet you. I
perspective of
appreciate
this
the time.
country,
Thanks so much, and good luck the
including
rest of the way.
exacerbating the cost
Thank
of
you,
living
Scott. I appreciate
crisis.
it. Have a good one.
Because we
You
I
too.
always find it interesting when somebody who is
but
that bright,
even those
that
people
cerebral,
suffering the worst,
is also
who
a
voted for
monster on the
Brexit,
football
cannot
field.
acknowledge it because
Exactly what Kyle
acknowledging that
Hamilton is on
decision
and off the
has
field.
hurt them,
We're
would
going to wait for
force them
kickoff
to
of Thursday Night
own
Football
that.
here on
And it's
Westwood
much
One between
easier
the
to say,
Bengals and the Ravens.
yeah, it's not
Back with
really
more of the pregame
Brexit.
show in a moment,
It's
but
those
first,
6
time for our
brown
weekly
people
Thursday
who
Night
came in your
Buzzcast
boat.
from Sports Business Journal.
It's much easier when you can shift the
I'm
sin
Glenn Fisher, and here's
from
the
you
latest in the business of pro
into a
football.
stereotype,
NFL stadiums are basically
one
full
that
for every game,
is
but the league is
curiously
finding
absent,
some room
is
for attendance
often
growth. So
paradoxical.
far
They
this year,
both
the league
are
has sold
taking all the benefits
98.7%
and
of tickets
taking all
available,
the
up a
jobs.
smidge from 98.6% last year.
This is the
It
nature
turns
of
out
human
Fox
beings,
Sports
and the
analyst Tom
next
Brady is
4
allowed to
years,
criticize
I would say a
officials as long
decade,
as he's not
is
too
going
over
to
the
be
top
full of
about it.
people with
The
motivated
NFL
reasoning,
clarified these rules this week after Brady
either
disagreed with the call
doing one
during
of
his
two
Sunday
things.
broadcast.
Oh,
They
now you want to
either
actually
take
have
those
some
tough
say.
decisions
Conflicts
that
of
have come
interest
about,
between his job as a
because I think
broadcaster and
part
new
of what
status
happened
as
here is
minority
there
owner
was
of
a
the Raiders.
bunch of people who told their
On-location
family, friends,
experiences will
dorm
continue to be the
mates,
only seller of luxury
business
ticket
colleagues
packages
that they
in
were
the
voting to have in the
This
House
week, the
and
NFL
the
is
league
back
and
on
the
Thursday.
president.
Catch your Thursday night
And there's
buzzcast
going to be other
presented by
people
Sports Business
who will
Journal.
admit
I'm
Hmm.
Glenn
that they
Fisher.
voted for
Buzzkill,
Brexit,
Start your
want
day with
to,
the
what he
biggest stories in
stands
sports
for,
business. Subscribe to
but
Sports Business Journal
they'll
Morning
say that the
Buzzcast on
problems
Apple
were actually
Podcasts,
the Democrats
Spotify,
got
or
in the
wherever you
way,
get your podcasts.
or international
Football
leaders
season is
didn't
heating up, and
agree,
PrizePicks
or
is
the
the best
weather
place
was
to get
bad,
real money
or,
sports action while
I don't
watching
know,
football. With
satellites,
over
or
10
Musk,
million
or
members now
something. They
and
can't do
billions of
this to
dollars
the
in
public.
awarded winnings,
It's the nature of
PrizePicks has
human
made
beings.
daily
The
fantasy
need to
sports
be
accessible
innocent
to all.
is
The
deadly
app
for
is
other
so simple
people.
to use. Just pick 2 or more players
You
across
mentioned
any
that
sport,
folks
pick
here, you
more
were
or
voting on
less
this
on
year
their
or vote on
projection,
something
and you can win up to
that only matters to
100
them.
times your
But it
money.
seems like I
PrizePicks
can't take
even
more than
invents it's a
5
flex
minutes of a
play,
ride
so
by
you can still
myself. I
cash
got the
out if
drivers
one of your
feeling free
picks
to
doesn't hit.
tackle the
I love
trans
it. I
problem.
Oh,
love it
wow.
Like
because it's
that's the
daily
conversation they want to
fantasy,
get
and
into.
it's easy,
How
and it's
can we
fun.
protect the trans
Download the
people
PrizePicks app
from
today
what
and use the
they're
code
about to
Very
do?
underrated.
PRIMETIME and get a $50 credit instantly when you
We
play
can keep
$5. That's
acknowledging
code
our
PRIMETIME on
commitment to
PrizePicks to
human
get a
dignity.
$50 credit instantly
We
when
can
you play
keep, because
$5.
the
You
facts won't
don't
help,
even need to
right? So
win
I'd
to
love to
get the
tell you the facts
$50
would help,
bonus.
but
It's
the idea
guaranteed.
that there are,
PrizePicks, run your game. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager and visit
0.005%
prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. If you're 65 or older, or 19 or older with certain
DeAndre Hopkins is not Hall of Fame worthy.
or asthma, you're at increased risk. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist about vaccination and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer. Hey pet parents, with Progressive's collision coverage, you get extra protection for your cat or dog. Because there's nothing worse than seeing your pet hurt. Like when you see their face after accidentally stepping on their tail, you say, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Pickles." But as you kiss his nose and rub his little belly welly, you know Mr. Pickles is thinking, "You betrayed me." Anywho, Progressive pays up to $1,000 in vet bills if your pet is injured in an auto accident. Learn more at Progressive.com and watch where you step. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Collision coverage subject to policy terms. Not available in all states.
Welcome back to Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. I'm Scott Graham. It's time for our weekly fantasy football preview with Sports Illustrated senior fantasy analyst Michael Fabiano, sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season's here. Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks and use code PRIMETIME and get $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. Michael, how are you? I'm doing well, not as well as you, who are on a 6-game winning streak in this fantasy league. So I'm thinking maybe we need to reverse roles here. Maybe I should host it. You should be the fantasy analyst. What do you say? Why would you put the win streak out there for the fantasy gods? I probably will not win a game for the rest of the year now. Thank you. Listen, I'm superstitious too, but not that superstitious. All right, so who do you like tonight? Who you starting? Who you sitting for the Ravens and the Bengals? Well, first we need to remind folks T. Higgins is not playing. Isaiah Likely also is out in this game. It's mostly chalk. Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, who's been very good without T. Higgins, should be in starting lineups where he needed tight end. On the Ravens side, Lamar's obvious. Derrick Henry, who's been amazing. Zay Flowers also a very good start. A couple of matchup trends. Joe Burrow, 5 touchdown passes in Week 5 against the Ravens. He's averaged 284 passing yards and 19.5 points per game in 8 career games against Baltimore. His prize picks total tonight for passing yards, 273.5. And Lamar has averaged 218 passing yards in 10 career starts against the Bengals. His prize picks total in that category, 235.5, and he scored 22 plus fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 games against Cincinnati. That doesn't surprise me that his prize picks total for points, 22.5. So certainly the people at Prize Picks are keeping tabs of Lamar's.
The Chiefs are not going to win the division.
Overall, this game is a high total, 52.5. It should be a high-scoring game. Should be a lot of fun, a big-time fantasy bonanza. And the Ravens are wearing them really cool alternate purple helmets and uniforms. And you know how I love my helmets and uniforms. I think that's going to be fun to watch. And you always got to love the Bengals helmets. Tiger stripes, they're glorious. Well, now that we've got that all settled, we're going to have a couple of the prize picks for a couple of the guys. What do the rest look like? This may be crazy, but it's going to be crazy. I'm going to say Derrick Henry will have less than 91.5 rushing yards. That's crazy. He's probably going to score a touchdown or two, but I'm going to say less. I say Rashad Bateman has more than 30.5 receiving yards in this game. Why? I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. Mike Gesicki, more than 53.5 receiving yards. Why? The last 2 games, without T. Higgins, look at the numbers. He has been phenomenal. And he's going to see plenty of targets in this game. The Ravens have one of the worst
Oh, I fucking hate him.
defenses in the league, and they have been giving it up to offenses who can have success in the air. And then finally, Chase Brown. I know that the matchup on paper is not great against Baltimore. They're very tough on fantasy running backs, but I still say he'll have more than 23.5 receiving yards in this game. And remember, Zach Moss is out for the season. He's on injured reserve. The Bengals traded for Khalil Herbert. I don't know how much burn he's going to get, but Chase Brown is the lead back in a pretty explosive offense. So if you're in traditional fantasy, he should be active despite the matchup. I think this is going to be, like I said, a very high-scoring affair. So since you're the fantasy expert now, do you think this sounds good to everybody out there, Scott, or what? I'm not being paid for that portion of what I do. So, you know, as soon as you write a check and pony up, then we'll talk about it. But for right now, no. Mike, good to talk to you as always, and we'll talk to you again next week. All right, have a great night, my friend. You too. Just ahead, we're going to get you one step closer to kickoff time. This is Westwood One's coverage of the National Football League.
Will not tolerate the persecution.
Hey, ODU football fans, get ready for an action-packed November. First up, it's the highly anticipated game against JMU on November 16th. This matchup is a sellout, so make sure they're decked out in whiteout. Then on November 23rd, ODU will be taking on Marshall for Senior Day and Fan Appreciation, plus the Oyster Bowl. Tickets are still available for the big Marshall game, so don't miss out. Grab yours today and be part of the excitement.
Football's new show breaks down all things NFL. From the plays to the players, from the field to the fans.
No.
And everything in between. 5 days a week. GMFB Overtime. It's football for everyone. GMFB Overtime. Weekdays at 10 on Sky 4.
Our nation counts on the military. You can count on Navy Mutual. For over 140 years, we have served those who serve our country. We provide service members and their families with life insurance products that ones they love the most. War clauses, your family is safe whether at home or abroad. Call 800-496-4417 or visit NavyMutual.org to learn
windows, showers, mirrors, and more. Glass Doctor services all of Hampton Roads with free mobile services. Visit the Glass Doctor showroom at 5226 Indian River Road, and for a free estimate, call 495-6514 or visit glassdoctor.com in Virginia Beach. Glass Doctor, 495-6514.
Go back and forth while addressing, the easiest subject matter.
94.1. Welcome to Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. From the Progressive Insurance Studios, I'm Scott Graham. Offering auto, home, and commercial auto insurance plus a variety of business insurance options. Visit Progressive.com today. This one tonight between the Bengals and the Ravens, one of 4 games this weekend. We've got a game in Germany, the Giants and the Panthers. That's Sunday Night Football. The Lions and the Texans. Monday Night Football, the Dolphins and the Rams. I'll be back with more coming your way at halftime. We come back, we're going to rejoin Ian Eagle and Devin McCourty in Baltimore. You're listening to Thursday Night Football on Westwood One.
I don't know what I can do other than to try to be the anti-Tate.
Football season is heating up, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while watching football. With over 10 million members now and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. The app is so simple to use. Just pick 2 or more players across any sport, pick more or less on their projection, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Prize Picks even invented the flex play, so you can still cash out if one of your picks doesn't hit. I love it. I love it because it's daily fantasy, and it's easy, and it's fun. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code PRIMETIME and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code PRIMETIME on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager, and visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Voice. There is a different theory of change to this world.
My active psoriatic arthritis and sometimes holding back. Now with Sky Rizzy to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Sky Rizzy, risankizumab Rizza, a prescription only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clear skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use it allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clear skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Every success you've had began with a great opportunity. Now there's another one. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we provide no-cost digital resources in place of textbooks and most courses. And that's not all. You'll receive your accredited online education.
You wouldn't lose. It's just
That's just sickening.
a little something to get us started.
35 degree and certificate programs. With online and hybrid courses, and everything you need to succeed again. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified operating for
Hail Mary? Well, but it's also related to Hail Mary. Hail Mary? Yeah, he knows what the expression is. He knows the expression, but I never would have thought that. Hail Mary? All right, so an easy one to start. We will now give you the 5 Stugat ones. Look at him. He thinks he's ready. He was never actually ready. But there has been a time or two that because we failed on our end, he somehow has succeeded. Because
what you've just done there, right there, is exactly what we've just been talking about.
Not legally and fair. No, I would not. I would not. No, you stole it. You stole it.
Nice job, son. Nice job.
Yes, it was not done cleanly because yes, you're black. Let's go ahead and do the first sound from Stugat. I think I know this one. I think I know it. Let's get his guess first, and then Amin and I will guess. I think everyone one more time.
I don't know, considering?
I would guess consistent. Consistent.
Burrow in the shotgun looking. Throws it over the middle. He's got his man. Jamar Chase all the way home.
And Alexander remains completely confounding.
Can't be home calling him.
He always will be. It's his greatest consistency.
Jackson with a handoff.
Let's go to his next word, please.
Touchdown. Ball game, Ravens.
I thought it was in Dallas, but then I'm like, I don't think that's a word he would ever say.
I think that's him quitting in the middle of Belichick. Oh, I don't know if that's right or not. That's just what I'm guessing. I don't know if it's right. I don't. Chris Cody's got the keys to the kingdom back there.
What's John's guess?
I don't even know what game Belichick does.
Okay, he does the game of football. That's about but you need a guess. You need a guess for the formal submission.
Divisional battle,
One more time.
AFC North, important game for Baltimore and for Cincinnati. Ravens are looking to sweep the season series.
Taking time to ponder it. I'm going to give you the full context here. The two guys will say what it is.
27 should say 41-38 shootout in week 5. I don't know if we're going to get the kind of fireworks that we got 5 weeks ago, but we know what Baltimore has done of late. They're one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They've won 6 of their last 7. You can't say it's all Lamar Jackson because it isn't. He's got a lot more help than he's had in previous years in which he's won the MVP. He is playing at a ridiculously high level, and his command has been very apparent game in game out. And it's so rare to see a score like that and then walk away and say, hey, both these offenses are better than they were in that game. And it starts with Lamar Jackson and the play of this team, especially offensively, because you now have a rhythm. If teams stack the box and they say, hey, we're not going to let Derrick Henry beat us, Lamar Jackson says, okay, no problem. I'll drop back, I'll throw the ball wherever I need to throw the ball, and we'll be productive. And now you give up Keaton Mitchell back in the lineup, another speed guy, another weapon for Lamar Jackson to use. So I'm excited to see how they get Deontay Johnson involved. There's a guy you bring over, you trade for him. So
Oh my God.
you feel there's some need for him. And I think on Thursday night, this matchup for a week. They might have a little bit of trickery, maybe 5 so they can see what that looks like. Last week, the Ravens scored on 7 consecutive possessions in their 41-10 rout over the Broncos. That team was 17 and a half by the time Baltimore just
Rehabilitation.
there have been some issues, and they've been vulnerable. They've been certainly vulnerable against the run and the pass. But if you just look at the numbers, raw numbers,
I think it might be him to start rehabilitating.
Opposing quarterbacks, the numbers are insane. Giving up 281 yards passing. That is not Ravens-like by any stretch. And it's weird to say because when you say their names in their secondary, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus, these are good football players. Brandon Stevens was the guy they talked about coming into the year. They had to figure out who they were going to pay at quarterback because they had such good play. And then they draft Nate Wiggins in the first round. So they have to figure out how do we just do something a little different to make this defense just a little bit better. Their offense is so dynamic. They don't have to be close to the lead. They just can't be at the bottom of the league if this team wants to be successful. Cincinnati is 4-5. They got off to an 0-3 start. Devin, this is one of the quirkiest stats that you will ever see. Their 4 wins, each of those opponents are currently 2-7. All of them. So they've beaten nobody. That's why when you look at the resume, you're not really sure what to make of the Bengals. This would be a huge victory if they could pull it off on the road. A lot of people picked this team to be in the Super Bowl. This was supposed to be the biggest challenge for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they just haven't gotten the production that they wanted. Yeah, it started with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and their contracts and all of that, but that's long in the past. This team has to find a way to beat good teams. The last time they played this Baltimore team, they set up for the game-winning field goal. They messed up the snap and hold and kick. They keep getting in their old way, messing up games. So if they can win tonight, it'll be a big win. It'll be a big confidence booster for this team. Stay with us. We're working our way towards the opening kick between the Bengals and the Ravens. This is Westwood One's coverage of the National Football League.
I'll take my 1. and take it as a win.
It's time to put the priority on your new car. Priority Auto has you covered with amazing deals at all of their dealerships. At Priority Honda, get a screaming deal on a 2024 Ford. See the all-new 2024 Santa Fe at Priority Hyundai. Luxury awaits you at Priority Infinity. And Priority Toyota salutes our heroes. Active military saves $750 on new Toyota. Make Priority Automotive your priority for your next car. Visit any of their dealerships or browse the selection online at PriorityAuto.com.
Are you prepared for your fall and winter adventures? What not? Greentown's got you covered. Ladies, we have everything designed with you in mind. From protection to sport to peace of mind. Greentown has the largest selection of firearms in Central Virginia. Our pros will outfit you with the proper fitting, and we even have a range. Offering classes from beginner to advanced at the Greentown Shooting Range. You don't even need to freeze it anymore. How sweet is that? Make your game time taste like Miller Lite. Taste great and less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96.
Get free installation on any Whirlpool KitchenAid dishwasher from $5.99 and up. Plus huge savings of up to 75% off all East Coast appliance closeout and scratch and dent appliances. Black Friday starts now at East Coast Appliance. The best price, or it's free. See store for details.
Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a weekend.
No, I'm all
An
set.
experience
Olave.
that's best enjoyed together with good drinks and good people. Smirnoff
Yes,
is the
no.
world's
No.
#1 vodka and is an official
Olave wasn't
of the
open.
NFL. And this year, Smirnoff is giving fans and select those with a chance to win the ultimate game day
Cheap box,
experience.
backfield mismatch, and
inventory in Virginia, plus a huge selection of new scratch and dent appliances at discounted prices. Visit East Coast Appliance today and get the best price, or it's free.
Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. Ends November 15, 2024.
I just don't have it. I just don't have it today.
Details. Sponsored by Diageo, America's Inc., New York, New York.
Jackson combined for 740 passing yards and 9 touchdowns. Time right now for Devin's Keys to the Game, sponsored by Insights help you find your next Pro Bowl hire today. Post your job for free. Go to LinkedIn.com/recruitment. Terms and conditions apply. What are the keys today for Jack Taylor's squad? The number one key is going to come down to our offense, and I think one of the ways to defeat this Baltimore defense we talk about getting the ball in the space to your playmakers. Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, Gesicki. Give it to them, take advantage of the pass game, and then defensively is what we used to call spin the wheel. Don't let Lamar Jackson and Tom Monkey get comfortable with seeing the same defense over and over again. Run different coverages, different defensive fronts. Don't make it easy. Continue to move it and make it hard for this offense. No T. Higgins tonight for Cincinnati. He's out with a quad injury, and no Orlando Brown, the former Raven, is out with a knee injury.
Let's try this again.
Usually we do 3 leg parlays. People doing 4 leg parlays at Thursday time. Weird to say that about Baltimore, but Lamar Jackson has to take advantage of whatever Cincinnati's defense gives them. It's a stack box. He has to throw the ball. If they don't, they stay with two safeties high. Running, give it to the
Trying to do this.
Hey, you're one of the worst teams against the pass, but you also lead the NFL in missed opportunities, dropped interceptions. Just give the ball to your own team. Hey, you'll give your offense
These
another
aren't
possession.
going to
Get the ball back in Lamar Jackson's hands.
This is an
Oh, you gotta
offensive
play good
game right
defense,
now.
but you can turn the ball over.
How good has this offense been?
They are the first team in NFL history to average 250-plus passing yards and 180-plus rushing yards over a 9-game span. They have done it
Now let's do Derek Carr. I was pissed off.
number 1 in total offense. They are number 2 in scoring. They are the number 1 rushing team in the NFL at 192 yards per game. Opening kickoff is coming up.
That gives you
You're
a
listening to
beautiful
Thursday Night Football.
+700 on DraftKings Sportsbook for tonight's game. Okay.
Welcome to Staples.
When families aim for the holidays, everybody needs gift ideas.
That's why we're here. Staples has amazing deals on everything you need. Photo gifts, laptops, and gaming systems. Even custom holiday cards and shipping solutions to send gifts to the family that can't make it.
Perfect. Have anything for Uncle Frank? I love him, but the kind that's never quiet.
Noise canceling headphones for you.
You get it. Unlock huge holiday savings at Staples. Starting right now at Staples, save up to $350 on select computers. Ends 11/16. Gift store only. Lowe's knows you want to give even more value for the holiday. That's why as a My Lowe's Rewards member, you get new member deals on holiday decor, tools, and more. Hey, you earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards to help you save on holiday and more. Not a member? Join for free today at Lowe's.com/MyLowe'sRewards. Because Lowe's knows deals. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowe's.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
Luckily, Kohl's baby started early.
All right, top 25, as usual, sponsored by the haters. Thank you, haters, for sponsoring all the things that we do.
Fuck you, haters.
We're starting to realize that the vast majority of the team is top 5. Is that question of the day? I'm not sure. Okay, so now you're just going to stuff their top 5. No. Like, if Liam's got a top 5 too that we can do. That's an impact on very excited about because we spoke about that. Okay, so OLI number 1. Can you guys keep your off-air conversations off-air and stop telling us all know that you have off-air conversations? We're kind of cool, guys. I don't know why you guys need to keep praising each other for this information that you're embargoing. OLI number 1. How the Ravens last weekend? It's a good question. That's 17 when it's like, I look at the loss line. 3 losses. OLI number 2. I know it's after but I still feel a heartbeat.
On the battlefield, there's a saying, America's military men and women live by.
They're not
Never leave
dead
a fallen
yet.
warrior behind. Ever.
How many hearts do
Off the
Dolphins have?
battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same
but this
goal.
one's got a...
Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home. The scars of war. One of those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind.
I'm telling you,
Shaking her face
Your heart in your chest, the heart in your ass is
Hey,
still
friends.
beating.
At Mint
Still
Mobile,
beating Dan
we
out.
like to do
All right,
the
we get to number
opposite
5.
of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a
We
lot.
walk into your
We
trap,
charge you a little.
and we
So
take your
naturally,
trap.
when they
No
announced
cap.
they'd be raising their
Falcons
prices
rising
due
up.
to inflation, we decided to deflate
You
our
sure about that?
prices
I am
due to not
definitely sure
hating you.
about that.
That's right.
We're gonna
We're
drink
cutting the
lemon
price
juice.
of Mint
That sounds
Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/score. $45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower, about 40 gigabytes in detail.
What are we doing? Number 4. Saquon pushing the limits on human athleticism. I know we talked about it throughout the week. It's Thursday, I get that. But can you imagine taking Saquon Barkley and switching him with like Jim Brown and then putting him in like 1960s era football and what those people do? Like, this guy's not here. Where did this guy come from?
I feel like Jim Brown was Saquon Barkley during that time. That's why I remember him doing that.
And then take Saquon Barkley and put him back there. He'd just be back.
A guy who's got a construction job that he leaves on Saturday overtime to get to Sunday.
First ever Thursday night football meeting between the Bengals and the Ravens. Cincinnati used a little trickery to get its only touchdown of the night, and the only one they needed on the way to a 13-7 win. It was one of just 3 losses on the season for Baltimore, which went on to win and went for a first-round bye. Playoff run was short-lived, however. Adam Vinatieri's 5 field goals bested Matt Stover's 2 as the Ravens lost 15-6 to the Colts here at M&T Bank.
Damn, Dolphins, goddamn. Dolphins blew the doors over the Jets in this situation. It's crazy how 1 week they go from getting blown out by the Bills and then by the Chiefs, and then they go up and just tear the Jets a new ass. Good lord.
The Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls between Daniel Jones' most recent 2 passing touchdowns at MetLife Stadium.
Oh my god.
So we had a Daniel Jones touchdown, then we had 2 Chiefs Super Bowls, then we had another Daniel Jones touchdown.
Goddamn. That is shit.
31-27 against Cincinnati. Lamar Jackson.
Oh my God.
Baltimore is 9-1 in the games that he has
I
started.
reduce.
His career
I'm gonna.
against the
Don't have
Bengals.
repeat
That's the
material from
greatest
other shows.
I know, but if you come, the schedule's not my fault, man. I come out with these Sunday night, as I'm doing Sunday Night Live. By the way, watch that after your NFL games on Sunday. I do them Sunday night, and then I get
It's
scheduled.
time for the opening kickoff. It's sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union, proudly serving
What
the
do you
armed
want me to do? Do
forces,
you want me to not
the
do it? He's
DoD,
asking.
veterans, and their families. Learn more at
They can be updated, then you can listen to the shows.
Do I reckon he do double the work because he doesn't know what the schedule is?
I want him to edit his
So who said that?
so that he's paying as much attention to the show as the listener who cares to hear his opinion.
The gold face mask.
Number one,
They are
nobody's
really
gonna have this one. You
sharp
ready?
and pop.
I don't think any Cleveland after 1959 has said this aloud.
Cincinnati wearing the
Dan?
white tops
I'm a
with the black bottoms
really big fan of what the commies are doing.
piping, and of course the traditional
Really
orange
big fan.
Bengal helmets.
Everybody seems to
As
be
we
Somebody
are
else have
set
that
for
thing?
action.
Commies in
Really?
Ashton
Washington.
Tucker
I
will
did
kick it
not
off.
have
Travion
something that
Williams
would
and
work in
Jermaine
2024,
Burton are
but
the
I
deep
think
Are
a
you
lot of
fucking
people are
serious?
big fans
dynamic
again.
kickoff to get week
Thank
10
you.
underway
Chris, head on
in
a
the
swivel. I don't think
NFL.
you have music
Big
for
matchup in
Means
the
Top
AFC
5,
North.
but if you did,
Ravens, a hot
it's
team.
top
They've won
5
6
white
of their last
athletes
7.
with black
Bengals have won
names. I
4
don't
of their
know why
last
it is
6.
he wants to do
After
this. He's
starting
been
the
telling
season
me on
0-3.
show that he wants to do it. I
Ravens
don't
will
know
kick it
where
off
it
to right
started.
to left
I think,
after
was there
how
something
many
that came up on the
football
television
teams
screen
have.
in here with the strategy during the first hour of the show?
Yeah,
So
overhead
the
kick. He
quarterback for
drills
Georgia
it
Tech is
5 yards deep in the end zone. Burton is going to take a knee, and it's going to come out to the 30-yard line.
It got my
Joe
mind
Burrow,
going. Like,
he's
whoa,
got
what are the other
really
athletes who
high
have names that
standards,
if you didn't,
and
if
he's
you've never seen it,
asking
you'd say, oh,
his
that's a black
teammates
athlete. But then
to
you see him, like, oh
raise
my God,
their
this guy's
level of
white.
play
So
to match those standards.
are we ready for a bet music, or since this is Bill
Let's
Simmons
go.
invented this game, it's the Reggie Cleveland All-Stars, correct? Is that not the original claim of this game, which is Khalil
Much
Kareem
better.
was a shortstop for the Padres until do I have this wrong? The Reggie Cleveland
No, we got it
All-Stars?
right, Dan. We got it right. Hold on.
James Brown, single setback coming off his best game as a pro.
So I would know, but I'll take your word
Man
for
from
it.
left to right.
But I just want to give proper
And now
credit if
Chase
they're
will
stealing
settle
an
in.
idea. Now we're giving credit.
Shotgun formation. Burrow
Now,
at the gun.
okay, yeah, great.
Well, if nobody knows, then you don't have to. That's correct.
Thank you, Izzy. Thank you. If it's just something that Tony said in your ear, you don't have to give him credit for that as something given only to your
I
ear.
think Izzy was saying that nobody knows of the original game.
What are you saying? I'm right about it. Let's just go.
Just don't use a cheerleader, because if you do, the world is going to end. Go ahead.
Well, no, but Jessica's got a Lord of the Rings cheermaker.
Stolen.
She got a lot of applause.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was my idea that I came up with on my own. By the way, the reaction, thank you for bringing it up, Dan. The feedback from the Lord of the Rings Rings of Power Tears was, I just want to give a heartfelt thank you to everyone who listened, commented. It was overwhelming.
The internet should be a positive place on very rare occasions.
So, and a lot of people did. So, and I understand that. I didn't enjoy that either. But they did like Justice Tears. So maybe we'll have a new Justice Tears next week, because people really like that I came up with that idea, and I might do it again.
We can give you tears everywhere. I'll give you liberal tears on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. We'll give you Jessica's tears, and now we've got the Reggie Cleveland All-Stars as brought to you by Amina Haynes. I don't want to call it that, because then it seems like
It's the Haynes King All-Stars.
See, a lot of people are going to be surprised when the quarterback of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket, Haynes King, ends up being right.
Yep.
I also feel like it's safer for me to do this list than Bill Simmons.
There is a different kind of defensively for Baltimore. We mentioned the rankings have not been good, certainly against the pass. Not a big game. Jones, Washington up front with Owe, Van Noy, Smith, Simpson, the linebackers, Stevens, Hamilton, Humphrey, and then Nixon matching that safety spot with our Darius Washington seeing more time. Second down and 9, 4 receivers set. Burrow operating out of the gun. Empty set. Burrow will throw.
Wichita State. Linebacker is good because I tell you, hey, he's the leading scorer at Wichita State. What do you think he looks like? His name is Ron Baker. It's not that mop of blonde hair. All right, here we go. Number 5. Curtis Painter. Number 8, backup quarterback. Not only do I remember him, that Colts team, I think, was close to winless, and when he took the field for the first time, I thought he was black. That's a thing that actually happened. I did not know. Until he dropped back to pass, and I saw him throw the ball, I did not know that he was black.
Is it the Curtis or the Painter there?
It's both. It's both. Curtis for sure.
Painter gives off white guy.
Painter? No way. Curtis Painter? Definitely black guy.
That is clearly a white guy.
Black guy who leads the nation scoring in basketball.
The one that falls out.
Curtis Baker,
From like 1998.
6'5" power forward.
Painter, not Baker. That's wrong.
Curtis Painter. Curtis Painter. Number 4, Levon Kendall.
Great for basketball. Canadian. I might have gone Hispanic there. Levon? Wrong. Kendall. Yes, Kendall said it. Kendall said Spanglish so easy from him. That's why I think Kendall. Levon spelled L-E-V-O-N. Yeah, well, that's a black name, folks.
Bro!
He brings speed. He brings strength. He's a ferocious hitter. He's one of the best safeties in the NFL. Unbelievable play. I saw him open and weak in Kansas City. I looked at him and I said, oh, we're different. You're a lot bigger than me, buddy. Played in single football, though. Not the same species. The 14th pick of the 22 draft out of Notre Dame. Sample again shifts to the back. He looks to Chiefs right on the other side, and Tyler makes his way inside the 25, right along the left hash mark. He's brought down the 24 to the stop. Washington got in here, and Cincinnati Washington on shift formation for Burrow. Slow down Burrow, making sure everybody's on the same page.
I'm sorry to my fans. I didn't get you a win. I wanted to show off my great skill and I lost. I'm sorry. Man, I gotta be better. Okay. Shit, man. I'm sorry, my beautiful fans. I tried to get you a dove. And I failed you. I'm sorry. But as always, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. This has been Sports Guru Productions, Sports Guru's channel, and I'm Sports Guru signing off.